started early. So whoever wants to come in can come in. All right. How's it going, guys? Got lots of lights and shining in the eyes today. So, we have to deal with that mess. Alrighty. Yeah, it's been a while.
This insulin costs $220.
Been a while. Alright, guys. I'm glad you're here. Decided to go live just a little bit earlier. Adriana Webster. Andriana. That's a very nice name. I like that. I just can't say it. So thanks for joining me. Yeah, I decided to pop on early. Sorry, guys. I actually got my technical stuff figured out this time. Trying something totally new. I've been just mucking. I don't know if you guys know this, but I've been mucking with trying to figure out live streaming. It's actually really difficult. So it's got a lot of glitches and a lot of frustrating parts about it. I've got all the gear, so it's not the gear, it's just some freaky kind of thing that seems to be going on. So thanks for being patient with me. So this time I felt like, hey, I got the thing working. Why not just go ahead and go live? And then, so what if I'm a little bit early? So cool you guys are joining me. So I just kind of wanted to, it's been a week or so since I was in last time, so I just kind of wanted to leave it as open source again today. We're coming up on hurricane season. To me, this is the real hurricane season when we get to the August 1st. So that's kind of why I went live on the 31st, is just to kind of reiterate the importance of you guys being ready for this storm season that's going to come. Because August is really the time that things get fired up, things that, the churning that's going on in the Gulf, down in the Mediterranean, down, just a lot of your storms are starting to kick in now. This August is really going to be when everything's heating up. So you guys are seeing this heat wave that's across the country. We got, hundreds in Texas. Is very common for hurricane season to occur when we got hundreds in Texas. That's just the fuel that's going to heat up those waters in the Gulf. That's really why the storms kind of brew in the Gulf, is that those waters start warming up. And the same thing goes down for the Mediterranean, as we've got all those coastal or tropical weather heat patterns that are coming. That's why things are going to fire up soon, and we're going to start to see the storm. So partly the reason why I was coming on live today was just to kind of get you guys fired up, get you ready. If you haven't got your bags packed, and what I mean by that is your cat bucket. And your cat bucket is when somebody calls you and says, hey, can you deploy to this event? You don't want to be running around going, what do I need to take with me on this storm? So you have to have a cat bucket. I just use one of those big blue tins or bins that have a lid, lock and lid or whatever, and I start loading up all the stuff that I use for catastrophe work. Now, most importantly, you want to make sure you have your laptop ready. And so what I recommend, a lot of guys will be using a home computer, not a laptop. And I switched years ago from using the desktop version, being big box and monitors and all that other stuff, and switching to a laptop where I can plug into my monitors, kind of like a dock, and allows me then so that if I get deployed to a storm, I'm just grabbing that laptop, the power cord, and literally just popping it in the bag and going. And it's still got all my Xactimate running on it. I don't have to do any kind of transferring from one computer to the next. So if you haven't got a laptop set up and you're not doing your claims on a laptop, then you definitely want that to be your primary focus of fixing yourself to be ready for storms, is make sure you're set up on a laptop. It just saves a lot of headache later when if you have to switch from a desktop version to a laptop, you have to actually call Xactware and change over your subscription from one computer to the next because they log everything in by IP address. So, you know, that's just a headache. You just don't want to have to deal with that, especially if you got 24 hours or 48 hours from the time they call you to the time you actually have to be in the location. And for those like me who are on the East Coast, getting to Texas is 18 hours drive. So I don't want to be mucking on the phone with Xactware trying to change over my subscription, mucking with all that, when I've got an 18-hour drive, 2-day drive ahead of me that's going to take every minute of my day getting ready for. So that's just one thing. Laptop's going to be ready. Other stuff that's going to be in your cat bucket are going to be all the things that you could need in a scenario, like everyday scenario, meaning chalk. What if, you know, think about it. We're at a catastrophe, okay? There's probably, could potentially be 100,000 houses that are damaged in a hurricane, okay? You have wind damage, lots of damage. Okay, you're not going down to the local Walmart and picking up some chalk because you forgot yours on the way. It ain't happening. There's not a speck of chalk in any of these places. And Amazon even gets a run if we have a hurricane, so so finding chalk is going to be hard. So stockpile your chalk. Chalk is cheap. You know, we're getting towards the end of the season of summer. This is where I go to Walmart and I look for the $1 a box clean out of driveway chalk because they're moving to the next season. They're putting all the school stuff in, not bringing all the summer stuff in. So they're cleaning out their aisles from all the summer stuff. All the pools are going away, all the lawn chairs and all that stuff, and they're making room for all the school stuff. So you'll see an end cap that'll have, 150 boxes of sidewalk chalk for $1 a box, and there's like 40 pieces in each box. I take a whole shopping cart, fill that whole thing up, and take it with me, spend 40 bucks, and got chalk for the whole year. So that's, those are little tricks that I do. But that goes for the same thing when you're talking about getting on a catastrophe and you can't find chalk. So that's why you want to stockpile. So that in your cat bucket, you're going to carry 3 or 4 packs, maybe more, of chalk. Something that you're going to use for about 3 or 4 weeks. A couple boxes is plenty. You don't go through that much chalk. I mean, because if you got a destroyed roof, my test square is 2 by 2. It's just like, look at all these, whatever. But if I'm looking at a wind, like if it's a hail event, I'm only using a small little spot. But wind, I got to mark every single shingle on that slope. I'm going to go through a lot of chalk. So chalk's going to be your tight spot when you're on a catastrophe. So chalk's going to be in there. I always carry an extra clipboard because mine could get busted. And then, I carry a clipboard and I write everything on it. So here's the thing, if you are, don't rely on the fact that you're going to be able to find these things at a catastrophe event. Walmart is going to be bombarded with all the guys who forgot to bring their stuff and are now looking for it. So you're not going to find a clipboard. You're not going to find a pad that's worth a hill of beans. You're not going to find your carbiners. You're literally not going to find anything that you need on a regular basis as part of your gear setup. You're just not going to find it. And so that's going to be something you want to bring with you. Extra clipboard, all your clicky pencils, pens, refills for those pencils, erasers if you use them. Then you've got paper. What about your printer? Got to bring your printer, portable printer, and you got to have lots of paper. I mean, you could probably find paper there, I'm sure. So if you didn't want to lug a pack, but one ream of paper is going to do you in every scenario like that. I carry extra pads for my cougar paws. Gotta have them. You're not going to order them and ship them in. They're not going to get there in time. Okay, so if you're climbing roofs every day, you're going to wear out your, you're going to wear out your boots on your cougar paws, so you want to have a couple extra pair for those. Let's see, what else I got in there? So I have batteries. Any of my stuff that has batteries. My moisture meter has a battery. My tape measure, my electronic, my disto has got batteries, mostly all AAAs, but I do have some things like my moisture meter is a 9-volt. So I carry 9-volt batteries. I carry lots of AAAs for batteries, and that's all. And how I do it when I carry it is I don't just carry a pack. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll take them out of the package and then I'll put tape around them all and leave them them all in a linear line and just tape them all, and I just break off, you know, a couple as I need them. And the reason why I do that is it sits flat. So I've got 1 layer, 2 layer, 3 different batteries I can lay flat instead of a big bulky pack. I mean, it's just my personal preference, but that's what I do. Let's see, what else do I keep in my pack? I carry, I do actually have an extra pair of Cougar paws, an old pair that I kept just in case something happens to my boot. It's, you know, I split it, I'm walking through some debris. You just never know. I mean, if you can't walk around with a broken boot. I used to carry extra shoelaces for my Cougar paws, but then I found these iron laces. That's the name of them, iron laces. And I never go through shoelaces anymore. I used to go through shoelaces like water on my Cougar paws. And you're pulling them tight and wrenching them, and they get frayed and they fall apart, and I was always swapping them out. So I found these iron laces, they're black, and I just buy a brand new pair of Cougar paws. I take out the old laces, put in the iron laces, never have to worry about them. Plus they're nice and slippery, and so that allows when you take your boots off, they come off real loose. When you spread them, they all kind of slip. So way better than those junk laces they put in them as they sell with them. So let me think what else. I got extra rope in there, a small one in case, you know, just in case. I've got some cooling devices. So I've got those little ice pack things that you put around your neck that you can fill up with water or ice. If you're working in Texas and you're running a catastrophe, you're going to get overheated very, very quickly. And so you need some type of cooling device that it's a little neck, kind of like a scarf, but you put ice cubes in it. And so when you're just feeling like you're just getting overheated big time, you just slap that thing on. You take it with you every morning, fill it up from the ice cubes from the hotel, and then you just, you know, take it with you, put it in a plastic bin so it's not dripping all over the place. And then, or if you have a cooler, then you're going to put it in there. And then just in those times where you feel like you're getting overheated and you just had enough of that heat, you just pop that thing up under, you know, tuck it under your shirt, walk up there, man, you're as cool as a bell. 120-degree roofs, and you don't even feel it. So totally keeps you cool, worth every penny. Pick those up on Amazon anywhere. Let's see, what else I got in there? Man, I got a bunch of stuff. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, so then the other stuff that you're going to have, another bin that you're going to carry your stuff with can obviously be your printer. You got to carry a printer that you can hook directly up to your computer. Don't rely on the fact that it's wireless. I always take a cord with me and plug it right into the laptop because the wireless never works at the office there. If you're into that scanner, they make portable scanners. I use an app. Trying to think what the app's called now. This is like any type of scanner app that you put on your phone. That's why I take all my photos with. Scans it, put it, you know, and I can scan it and drop it right into Dropbox. I don't need to take a portable scanner or take a picture with your phone and save it as a PDF. That's another way to do it too. So yeah, that's going to be any of your wiring that you need, power cords, power strip. You know, all those things are real important too to make sure you carry all those. Craig says, hey Daniel, I've been watching you for a while. Thanks for the knowledge. I got my Texas license. Yeah. Should I focus on getting other state licenses or Xactimate certification first? So your Texas license is great. You can do both. So, and it all depends on your finances too. If you don't have the finances to get multiple licenses as well as take the Xactimate certification, then I would prefer that you get the Xactimate level 1 and level 2. Because basically, these firms, in order to deploy you, are going to be looking for your skills. If you have experience as a contractor, then that's great skills. I don't need training in that in order to get deployed because they're going to already know that I know houses. So, but if I don't have that skill, then I've got to rely on other skills. So computer skills, proficient in Word, proficient in Excel. These are all little things that, you know, help along the way. But the level 1 and level 2 Xactimate are absolute musts. There is no person, no adjuster that should be in this industry that doesn't have those 2 certifications right there. Because that proves to the firm you know the software, which is the primary software for this business. I mean, 90% of all claims are written in Xactimate. Why would you not want to have the certifications that prove you know how to use the software? So that's an absolute must. And let's say, here's the thing, guys, there's a lot of people out there that say, well, I'm going to get deployed as a desk adjuster. I don't need it. Well, if you don't need it, you got it. for when you do get deployed. What if a new opportunity comes up? You're on the CAT deployment, you weren't using Xactimate, and they released you after a month. And the next opportunity is, that somebody has says, hey, do you have level 1, level 2 certification in Xactimate? Do you know how to use it? And you say, no. Well, what a bummer. You could have had it, because once you're certified, it's not something I have to renew. I had mine 10 years ago, 9.5 years ago, and I've never renewed it. No one's ever asked me if I know how to use the software. So I have it. I had the certification at one point, and I don't ever have to get it again. So do it. Just knock it out, get the certification, be done. As far as your licenses, I would definitely get your coastal licenses. So if a CAT occurs, catastrophe, great, you got Texas, but that means you can only work in Texas. So what if a Florida storm happens and it doesn't hit Texas at all? Well, bummer, I'm not working then. So Texas is a great state because it can reciprocal to Florida. Florida, you just apply for the license, you tell them that you have Texas, which they're gonna ask anyways, you give them your Texas a license number, and boom, $300 later, or whatever their price is, you got a Florida license. You're ready for a CAT in Florida too. So same thing goes for Atlanta, like Georgia coastline, Alabama, Oklahoma, Mississippi. South Carolina is really hard. We don't get a lot of holes, not a whole lot of storms in South Carolina. That's one of those that you might want to do a little later, maybe when your winter is slow and you're not doing anything, then that's a great one to do, because you actually have to take that test as well. You can't reciprocal that one, so you got to take that test. And it's a hard test. So anyways, but North Carolina, easy one, reciprocal again. But you got all your coastal states, so if anything happens, you're going to have the opportunity to be deployed, whether it's a desk position or a CAT position. So either way. All right, would you say it's easier to break into the industry as a field auto adjuster first? Absolutely. That's pretty much going to be someone, they will take auto adjusters with absolutely no experience whatsoever. I mean, zero, nothing. And all you're going to do is maybe you have your State Farm certification, which you have to in order to be deployed by State Farm. You have to have your auto certification. Now, you don't have to have the property side, but it doesn't hurt to get it as well. So they call it fire, because that's originally what insurance was right from the very beginning, was fire coverage. So, but you get your auto certification, you can be deployed to any auto position out there. And there are so many opportunities in auto. I started that way. And even though I had all this property experience, they wouldn't deploy me to a property position first. It's like you get your opportunity as a desk adjuster first as an auto guy, and you start learning some really critical stuff, like liability. I mean, that was my first gig, was going into general, like the liability side of a car wreck. So who's at fault? We got two people, and they hit each other, and both people are screaming it's the other person's fault. So your job is to listen to or take a recorded statement of both people, and then also to get the police report, and the police report pretty much tells you who's at fault. But then you're making a liability decision when it comes to insurance to make sure to show who's at fault. And it's actually kind of fun. I really enjoyed it because it created a knowledge of the insurance world very quickly in my head of how it works. And that's critical, because when you get into the property side, you have to understand how it works too. And it's a much more complicated version of it in the property side of understanding liability or basically insurance coverage. And so the auto side kind of breaks you into it easily and gets you an opportunity to learn policy and stuff like that first. So it's really good. It's a great opportunity. And you make good money. I mean, I made $100,000 sitting at a desk. I had to work 60 hours a week for it, 6 days a week, 10 hours a day. But after you're doing it, I mean, half those, I would say 3 of those hours, I'm not doing hardly anything. So it's, you're taking breaks, you're talking to your, it's actually really very, I mean, you work tasks, and on Saturdays, man, this is Desert Ornail, so everybody brings food in, you have a big old party, and, Saturdays are kind of a lazy around day waiting for the phone to ring. So a great opportunity. I met a lot of people. We were in a building. I worked in several different locations, and the first building, there was like 3 floors of like 200 people on each floor. And the second location, we were in a building with about, 200 or 300 in one floor. It's just great. And if you go to Texas, then it's like totally amazing. Richardson's got a massive place. I mean, it's really cool. Richardson's got a massive place. I mean, it's really cool because you meet a lot of people that you'll see in this industry forever. So if you get deployed to another location, you're going to see the same people. And so it's really a very small family. I've been to catastrophes. I've seen the same adjusters. I go to conferences. I see the same adjusters. It's literally a very, very small family of adjusters, and it's really the people who stay in the business. So think about it. There's a lot of people, and it's really the people who stay in the business. So think about it. There's a lot of people that pop in and out of this business, and they don't stick around. I could point to 10 people that I used to work with and who aren't doing this anymore. They chose to change careers. Just wasn't for them. And, they didn't stick around. But the people who did stick around, I see time and time again on different deployments. And it's kind of cool. And you become kind of sort of famous because people start to see you as the regular adjuster. And it's a good family. It's a very small family, but you're close, because you're all independents. You're all fighting for the job. You're all trying to get the same money, and you're trying to stay busy. So it's a kind of a neat camaraderie, I guess, of the same type of people that are doing well. So like, what I mean by that is that when some of my friends that I was in the office with would get deployed, they would text me and go, I just got deployed over here to Atlanta. I'm going to Atlanta. And it was so cool. And I was like, well, let me know if you go anywhere else. And then sure enough, they would text me, 6 months later and say, I'm going to Florida, and it was just, we kept that little family together of, telling each other where you were going and where you're being deployed to. And I still actually talk to several of the guys now, and it's been 2.5 years since I've seen them. So it's been 3.5 years since I've seen them. And I still talk to them. So it's a great little group. So auto's a great start. You'll have to prove yourself in auto before you'll get to a property side. Unless, like I said, if we have a massive event, something big hits Florida and we got, 500,000 claims coming in weeks, all different carriers. And it's all property damage. Well, you gotta remember, everybody has 2 cars, so cars are actually double the damage that every house is damaged, sometimes 3 cars per every house. So that's why auto becomes a great opportunity when you first get started during a catastrophe, like in New York, for instance, Hurricane Sandy. Look it up. Parking decks, underground garages, every car on the street, all floating down the road. There are probably 1 million cars all at once, one storm that flooded, and they needed auto adjusters left and right to come in and go, can you just put a big red X on that car? It got flooded. Walk out there, find the car, verify the VIN, and put a big spray paint X on the car saying State Farm or whatever, and it was totaled. And it was just so much work being an auto adjuster, and all it was trying to figure out how you're going to get to find these cars that are floating all over the place. So people would call in and go, I don't know where my car is, it's gone. I was like, okay. And then you're just relying on some tow truck guy to go out there as he's moving cars around to let people know where I got a verification of the VIN here that's, I don't know whose car it is, but, and then we'd go find out where the car was, in some tow yard somewhere, and, or sitting in the on the side of a river somewhere because it was underwater somewhere. It's very interesting. It's quite an interesting job. But you don't have to be an auto mechanic to work in auto. So that's what's really cool is you can be deployed. I don't know anything about cars. In fact, I'm the dumbest guy when it comes to cars. And I'm getting deployed talking about cars and total loss and liability. And then they have a medical side too. So you could actually get deployed and do the medical. Like everybody gets hurt in a car, I mean, everybody. Oh, my neck, whatever. So everybody's screaming, I got hurt. So now you got all this, medical side of auto accidents where everybody and their brother got hurt. And, you have to prove whether they're hurt or not, so it's quite interesting. You guys have any more questions? Now, 10 people in here. Let me know if you guys got any questions. I'm so glad I'm doing live again. I enjoy this. I don't want to do it all the time because then it gets boring. You guys ever you get on YouTube and it's the same guy and he just sits there and he goes, yep, I'm here again doing live, and he's eating his breakfast on there or whatever. I mean, he's obviously bored to death. So, Nukem Nomad. Okay, hey Daniel, thank you for all your content. Question, once you enter into the field as a new adjuster, is it common to have access to a trainer, mentor, or are you on your own once you get started? No, absolutely not. So this is why most of the time they deploy you to a desk position or a CAT event first as your first deployment. And just like I did, I was in this huge office, cubicles, and you got a trainer and you probably have 2 managers for every group of about 30 people. So they break us up in about 30 people. Sometimes in the bigger firms, like I remember Crawford, they would get 100 people in there. But they would also have like 4 trainers and 3 or 4 managers or whatever. So there was always tons of people. And they're constantly doing training seminars. They're teaching you how to use the software. The trainers are constantly walking the aisles. Man, it's the best place to learn because honestly, you're walking into a situation where you haven't got a clue. I mean, you haven't got a clue what you're doing. And then as you're with other people, you have to remember you're not all newbies. They put you in this cubicle scenario, and you could be sitting next to a guy that this is his 4th deployment, and he knows the software inside and backwards. So you've got the ability to chit chat with the guy that's sitting, 8 feet away from you, and go, hey, I got a question, and shoot him an IM, or that's called an instant message for those. You have an internal instant message system that you can do all the time with State Farm, and you just shoot a question to your buddy who's sitting across from you, and then they fill you in on what's going on. So great opportunity. Never left out in the air. You actually get the best training in the world. So like I said, when you become a field adjuster, you are already experienced to the point where you know what you're doing. Software is not an issue. You already know Xactimate upside down, backwards, and they know you can be self-sufficient, self-reliant, self-governed. That's the only reason you're getting a field adjuster position, is that they don't have to monitor you. But I still have a manager, not a trainer, but I have managers. If I have questions, I can shoot an email to, and they're available too. So, but I hardly ever use them now because I've learned what I need to do this job, and I don't need to call them anymore. So it's kind of cool. All right, seeing the weather for Kentucky the next couple days, looks bad again. Have you heard? Are they doing any CAT deployments there? Derek, I have not. I've seen all the water. Yeah, it's terrible, absolutely terrible. And that's going to be more of a flood scenario, flood deployment, because everything's underwater. So we're not probably dealing with a whole lot. I mean, maybe some wind. Like I worked a CAT in Houston, and yes, totally flooded, but there was also wind damage. So I was going into the scenario not working a flood claim, but working the wind claim, and all I'm doing is separating out the 2 losses, taking photos and saying, okay, yeah, flood 4 feet in the house. I'm not touching any of that, but took a few photos of that, and then jumped up on the roof and said, yeah, look at all these shingles off, and I paid for the roof. And the screens were gone, and there was some siding damage from debris. So I'm writing the estimate for property damage, but not flood damage. So that's the same thing that's going to happen in Kentucky, is until the roads are accessible, until there's a place to actually get around, they're not bringing anybody in until there's access. And so, yeah, there'll be good opportunities there. I would say get in the office. Man, that's going to be a way better scenario than traipse around in 4 foot of mud and all the roads closed. And I mean, it's a terrible, ground zero in a catastrophe is miserable. I've done it. I don't like it. I'd sooner never do it again. It's just hard. No power, no porta potties, no water, no gas, no hotels. You're driving forever to get to these things. Most of the roads are closed. Debris constantly, getting flat tires all the time because of the debris on the roads. I mean, it's really hard. And so it's not very fun. So I'm learning more towards auto, or leaning more towards auto, but I have a lot of training, or a lot of my training has been property. I really don't want to do desk at first. So likely to start out doing auto property field. Okay, so auto field, you would have to have been a mechanic, absolutely a mechanic. Property on the field, if you can prove you know the software, so proficient in level 1 and level 2, and you have somebody that's willing to do maybe a ride-along where you could prove to the firm that you've actually had some training and you've actually turned in some claims, that's the only way they're going to even entertain the thought for field. Now, this is why catastrophe work is so critical to someone trying to break into the field side of things, is what I mentioned is if a cat event happens, especially hail, there are endless houses in those areas that need to be inspected. And this is how I got my first deployment. And my first gig of basically being a property adjuster was I was deployed to a hail event on a kind of a lower no-end firm because I was on about 40 rosters at that time. And this no-name company needed adjusters because it was such a big event. And they called me and said, "Can you go?" And I'm like, "Sure." I've never been on one, but I'm gonna go. But I had the level 1, level 2. I was qualified enough to go, meaning training wise. I was just horribly bad at it when I got there. But nice thing about that is you put it on your resume. No one asks how you did. No one keeps track of, the fact I only did 20 claims and I was miserably behind on all of them. And, it took me 3 weeks to do them. I mean, I was horrible, absolutely horrible. But I put it on my resume. Guess what? The next hail event, boom, I was gone and I got better. And so that's how you get started, is you just take whatever comes. I don't care if you make 5 cents on the catastrophe, it's gonna be on your resume. And that's what the next firm's gonna look at. They're not gonna call you up and go, "Oh, do you have a manager? I wanna call your manager and see how you did on that catastrophe," because they're not gonna ask you. No one's gonna ask you. They're just gonna go, "Oh, you went to a hurricane, or you went to a catastrophe on a hail claim in Abilene, Texas? Well, great. All right, well, we got another one in Houston. You wanna go?" Sure, whatever. So great opportunity. I just don't think you can bust into daily field adjusting, which is what I do, handling daily claims on an everyday basis, all types of claims, everything from, well, I'm doing one Tuesday, somebody died in the tub, an old lady died in the tub. So you do the weirdest claims sometimes, but you gotta handle everything from the aftermath cleanup. These are people that come in and move the body out and clean up the blood or debris or whatever, suicides I do, murders, drive-by shootings, vandalism. Then you've got everything else, lightning, flood, and flood meaning houses that have a pipe burst from the 3rd floor and it floods the entire house. Yeah, I do those all the time. Just did a fire the other day. Last couple of weeks I did a fire. I've done like 4 or 5 fires actually in the last 3 or 4 weeks, but big fires, they destroy the whole house. So as a field adjuster, you're gonna do everything. And so that firm wants to feel comfortable with you so that they don't sit there and have to go, "Well, I'm not sure if they can handle that claim, so maybe we'll send it to this field adjuster. No, that field adjuster's gonna have to drive extra far." They want an adjuster that they can send anything to and know that you're going to handle every loss that comes in from that carrier. So that's why you're going to have to be really skilled. You have to have a lot of experience before you're going to do that. A lot of times they say 3 years experience, and that's going to be consistently working 3 years. This isn't just, "Hey, I've been an adjuster 3 years, but I've only been on 1 deployment." No, this is 3 years, verifiable. They're going to ask you how many claims you handled of each variety. Everything from mobile home, how many hail claims have you done, how many water claims have you done, how many fires have you done, how many thefts have you done, how many large losses have you done. They're going to ask you specifically on their portals, how many of each of these claims have you handled? And so if you go, "I've handled 3 water, 3 flood claims or whatever, or like water claims, and handled 1 fire, and I've handled 1 vandalism," they're going to say you're not experienced enough to handle the claims. So just keep that in mind. So Matthew, thank you. Love your videos. Taking Xactimate level 1 now. Awesome. Very cool. It's a hard test, but it's doable, guys. I mean, people pass it all the time. So great certification. Watch my videos. I got a ton of videos. I take you from the beginning of writing a claim all the way through the end through Xactimate side, not the report writing side, but really just drawing the route. So if you guys want to learn free, on how to use the Xactimate program, I teach it. There's about 6 hours of video in there. It kind of teaches you everything on how to build things. And then you take that, maybe you take another course Xactimate training course, it'll help you get all the nitty gritty bitty, stuff, then that's a great come along. But it's a great program, and once you learn it, you'll love it, and then now you do it with your eyes closed, after you get going. Do I ever listen to music while doing a roof inspection? No, I don't. You got to stay really focused on the roofs. I just don't want to be distracted. So if you're distracted, you're going to miss photos. You're going to, not be careful about paying attention to where all these roof vents are, turtle vents you could trip on, granules that are loose, shingles that are loose. I mean, you got to really be careful on the roof. And the first time that you get sloppy and you just kind of lackadaisical, are on that roof, you're going to fall. And it's just not worth it. So I would recommend highly staying away from it. And plus, you're not on the roof long enough. I mean, I'm up there, honestly, about 15 minutes, 20 minutes max. It's too hot up there to be up there going, hey, I'm just going to get a suntan and listen to my music while I'm up here. You don't have time. You're sweating bullets up there, and every day you're looking at the roofer over here, and he's dripping sweat, and you're dripping sweat. And you're like, I'm going to get off this roof as fast as I can. I'm going to get my test squares done and get going. I'm going to get off this roof. So yeah, there's no time to really be, you could probably listen to it while you're walking around the house if that helps to keep you focused and, not be distracted. But a lot of times you got the homeowner beside you or a roofer beside you. So, he's looking at the same damage, making sure we didn't miss something. So I say music for the car. Long drives going from one to the next, that's when I do music, so. Working on my TWIA cert right now. Well, yeah, good job, Gilmar. I am too. My firms have been bugging me for the last 3 weeks, man. Hey, you haven't turned in your TWIA. And I'm like, I know. So yeah, I'm still working on it too. It's a good one to have. So TWIA is your wind certification. It allows you to work claims on Texas coast. They basically made every county down the whole coast only handled through TWIA, which is a specific insurance coverage for wind in Texas. So if a hurricane comes to Texas and you aren't TWIA certified, you're not working that storm. So you might be able to work Harris County further in, which is around the Houston area, but you can't work the coastal states without the TWIA certification. So keep that in mind. All right, recommendation to start a desk adjuster. Is it possible to start as a desk adjuster part-time? I need to keep my full-time job until I can make a career move financially. Totally get it. So part-time, no. Because what you're going to do when you are a desk adjuster is they're going to deploy you, and your time is either 6 days a week or 7 days a week, 10 hours a day. That's more than a full-time job. And you got to remember, you're trying to break into this field, and you're trying to show that firm that you want to stay deployed or stay working. And most of these deployments are 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months. They used to do more like 6 months and a year, but those are so rare now. It's more of just like, hey, we're gonna send you out for a month or two, and then they're gonna reevaluate your contract to see if they'll extend you. So extending is the magic word. When you go down when they go down the aisle and they let you know you're extended. Oh, you're not. It's a very stressful time because you're renting an apartment. You're, all your expenses and stuff while you're out. These are short-term notices, and you might get burned halfway through the month and you're not getting extended, so you lose half a month of rent. So it's just all part of the game. It's a hard game to play, but it's worth it. So what I would recommend you, basically, Newcomb, the best thing to do is to take your full-time job and start stockpiling money away. And whether it's $100 a week, $100 a paycheck, whatever it happens to be, put that money aside and work on your licenses, work on your certifications, get all of that stuff done while you're still working your full-time job. But you're stockpiling money for the help of whatever is to happen. So pretty much typically what I see guys do is they do what I just said. They stockpile the money, they're saving up for all of that, and then they get deployed to a catastrophe. And when they get deployed to a catastrophe and they actually find out how much money they can make, they literally quit their job when they come back. That's how it works. It's so good money, and you're like, why am I working at this dead-end job? And I start putting all my effort into continuing to work in this field because it's very popular and it's very rewarding. So that's typically what I've seen guys do is they start out going, yeah, I want to do a part-time, or I just want to go on one deployment and then I'm going to come back and work, and everybody's hooked after the first one and they're off. So just kind of see it as that way. But if you stockpile of money, then if you do have to take some time off, or if there are some slow times in between your transition to this job, then you're covered. So yeah, what I tell people is to save 3,000 or 4,000, which is basically, depending on how much you make, a couple months worth of salary that it takes you to live on. You want to keep that in the bank at all times, whether it's for a deployment that you're going on a catastrophe to use that money for, or it's during the slow times of your work. And typically, if you're pursuing work, you're not going to run out of work for 2 months if you're pursuing it. Somebody is going to deploy you. Somebody's going to allow you to do a daily claim, especially if you're constantly, begging them and saying, hey, I'm sitting here waiting for you to send me an assignment. I just want to let you know I'm still in the Raleigh area waiting for you to send me some claims. I'm always here. And then you call them back 4 days later and you tell them the exact same thing. They're going to get tired of hearing from you. And then they're going to send you a claim and go, well, let's give him a shot. See how he writes one of these claims. We can give him one. And then you write this claim. You spend all the time in the world. Maybe it takes you an entire day to do it, but it's a beautiful claim. Looks great. No problems. You send it in. Your manager looks at it because, you did only get one. And then they see it and they go, that's a great looking file. Let's give him another one. And then all of a sudden you start it. It's just how it works. They don't want to trust a new guy with no experience, but if you bug them to death, they will give you one. You make that claim perfect, and you're going to be on your way. So, all right. So, I don't have Xactimate certs yet, but should I list Xactimate training on my resume? No. You don't have any training unless you have that certification. So, yeah, you could say that you're studying it. You could vocally say that, but on your resume, no, I wouldn't do it. Resume is meant for experience. What you actually have experience in, that's what's going to be on your resume. So hey, I know guys who knock out Xactimate level 1 and level 2 in 60 days, 30 days for each one. They're hard courses, very hard courses, but you study it and you learn it, you're going to pass it and you're going to be done, and then you never have to do it again. So just knock it out. Take your 2 hours on Netflix at night, say goodbye, and start studying that course, looking up on YouTube, watching all the videos you can find from anybody who's teaching you Xactimate. Use that trial. They give you 30 days trial, and what I tell people to do is call them back when your trial's over and tell them, hey, can you extend me one more month? I'm really trying to decide whether I like this program or not, and I've been kind of busy with work, and I didn't really get a chance to spend some time on it. And they'll go, oh, okay, we'll extend you another 30 days. Boom. 2 months, you got the trial, you got your certifications, you're done. A little gimmick there, but it worked. I did it. It worked. Let's see, working ECTA, 6 times 10 currently, State Farm's auto claim handling down to a science. Yes, Jared, great. ECTA is awesome, it's a great opportunity. You make a little bit less money, but hey, it's a great way to break into the industry. ECTA is basically a kind of a step down from a full claims adjuster. They pay a little bit less, but what they're doing is they're trying to let you do some basic claim handling, without making final liability decisions or total loss decisions, but they're letting you get in there in the nitty gritty, get your hands dirty, learn the basics, and then they'll move you up to the full adjuster later. So it's a great, like I said, great opportunity. They were just getting into that when I was there, and it was good. They were bringing a lot of new people in that didn't know anything, and it was great. So yeah, State Farm's got it down to a science. They really do. What kind of shoes or boots do you wear for non-roofing claims? I have Clark leather loafers. They're basically slip-on. Get them on Amazon, about 60 bucks. I can slip them off when I go in the house. I can wear them on a low-pitch roof, no problems at all. And I keep my feet dry. So yeah, just a simple leather loafer that I can slip on. So that's what I wear. And it looks professional with your slacks and your collared shirt, because you can't wear shorts and you can't wear running shoes. So some guys sneak in and wear the black running shoes, but it looks really yucky. So just wear a leather loafer. They break in, they're soft, they're like wearing your slippers all day. So it works out really well. All right. So how soon can someone retake the TWIA test? I don't know. I don't know. Probably right away, I would think, or within 30 days, I imagine. I don't know. I couldn't answer the question. I'm sorry, Cordell. All firms are remote for State Farm Desk Auto. All firms are remote for State Farm Desk Auto. Well, interesting. That's changed. I was in an office, so hey. And probably since COVID, they've done a lot of things differently. So yeah, great opportunity. In fact, a buddy of mine was doing remote stuff too. So that's actually a great opportunity, guys. Then you're not driving and having to do all the hotel stuff that we had to do. Yeah, you do it remote. Now they pay you less, but you know, oh well. Hey, staying at home, sleeping in your own bed and working, that's still a great deal. Today is the last day to register for the TWIA course. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, they cut off today. So that's why I didn't mind, even though I haven't finished it, I'm still registered. So yeah, got to get it in there. Being the hurricane season is basically here. Yes, it is. I was saying that, I don't know if you guys were here the first 5 minutes of my live, which I came on early. Sorry about that. Sorry. I was telling people I didn't have any technical difficulties today. So I said, well, let's go on before I have technical problems. So anyway, so yeah, so I was saying that I consider August 1st officially hurricane season. July is, you know, we've been in a month now, hurricane season, but I honestly see August 1st. And the reason why is it literally is the month that we start seeing over 100 degrees in Texas and, you know, sometimes in Florida. Not very often in Florida, but high heat. All the tropics are warming up. All the water's, you know, 78 to 85 degrees. I mean, the water is really warming up, and that's really what fuels the hurricane. So if something comes into the Gulf, then you've got all that water that's already been warmed up by the tropics. Yeah, that's officially August 1st to me is hurricane season. So that's why I'm saying, get all your training now, guys. This is not the time to wait. Get it all knocked out, because we literally could have a hurricane here in the next week. That's how ripe we are for a hurricane. And then when it comes, you can't get licenses, guys. So something out there in the tropics comes and it looks like it's going to hit Florida, you are never getting a Florida license in about 3 months because everybody and their brother is applying for it and they're slammed and they won't get it to you. So it's too late. So get it now before the rush happens, because you will not get your license when the event is here or looking like it's going to be here. All right. How would you recommend the transition from roofing job to an independent adjuster? Oh yeah, so same thing. It's no different. You've got great experience because you've been on so many roofs. You know what hail damage is. You know what wind damage is. You know how a roof goes together. You've probably seen lots of collateral damage. You know what that looks like. So that's a great resume right there. Just popping that on your resume and saying, I've been a roofer for this long. I've been on 500 roofs. You're putting that on your resume, but then the flip side is, are you level 1 and level 2 certified in Xactimate? If you're not, they don't care about you. You're not skilled enough to write an estimate, so it doesn't matter how skilled you are at finding the damage. If you can't write the estimate, you're useless. Okay? But if you have, while you've been a roofer, you're proficient in Word, you can write reports, you're good with communication skills, obviously, because you've talked to tons of owners, so you can put that in your resume. You know how to, write reports. Basically, your grammar and communication skills are good. You put all that in your resume. A firm sees that, and they're going to scoop you up because you're already doing probably half of the job. The inspection is half the job. The report and the estimate writing is the other half. So I look at it like you can be proficient in one, but you can't ignore the other. And the same thing goes for, hey, I'm great with Xactimate, I'm great with writing, but I'm afraid to be on a roof, and I don't even know what the heck hail damage is, I've never seen wind damage. Then what good of it? You're not a very good adjuster. You've not been trained properly. So you want to have both. Both sides of that ball have to be in place. And then they form the complete package. So just kind of see it that way. No, Xactimate 3, level 3, waste of time. That's like, I want to build some circle staircases, I want to be able to draw those, I want to draw some turrets, and I've fiddled around with some turrets. It's totally not necessary. Don't waste your money. Never had anyone ask me that. Never had anyone ask me, why are you not level 3 certified? They don't care. 1 and 2, That shows you know the program. Level 3 is mastery. And I don't want to be a mastery of that program. It's got, I mean, I'm never going to use the circle staircase. I just put it up and go boom, 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 and I just, you know, whatever. I don't even draw all those really fancy curve things. Never even do it. If I'm in a circle room, I can just use the vortex tool and make it an octagon. I don't have to draw a circle. I don't need to do 400 points in a circle in order to make a circle room. No, I don't need to know how to do that, but that's all on level 3, so I don't need that. So forget that. Does North Carolina require continuing education for your license? Yes. So every 2 years, I've got to take about 24 hours of courses. And I do it on WebCE. I couldn't remember the name of that last time. See, I was getting old. Now I'm smart. WebCE, okay? That's what I use. And basically, I buy my continuing education courses. I think it cost me like, I don't know, 60 bucks maybe, 60, 70 bucks. And I buy all the courses I need to get the hours that I need, and then I just sit in front of the boob tube for about 2 days and get all my courses done. And I do that every 2 years. And every course that I take, which they give you a list and they'll give you a certification after you've taken it, I put that on my resume. So, basic claim handling practices 101, boom, that goes on the bottom of my resume for additional training. I put that as, and now my additional training is I've got about 60 different courses that I've taken for continuing education. Everything from fraud prevention to criminal, insurance fraud cases of the country, and all these crazy courses that I've taken over the course of learning continuing education. I put those in my additional training. So when somebody opens that resume, now it's 3 pages long, they go, dang, this guy's got everything in his brother, as far as training goes. They never question whether I know what I'm doing. So that's what you gotta do. It's really cool. All right, I'm in Texas and they require 24 hours and 3 hours of ethics every 2 years. Yeah, that's exactly what I gotta do too. And the ethics is so stupid. It's basically honesty and integrity courses to make sure that you're, now would you do this, would you do that? I mean, it's just a refresher course. It's the same course every year. PLRB is a good site for CE credits. Also, some mitigation companies, Pro, offer free courses. Also, engineering firms do too. Good, Matthew. Cool. That's a great add-on. Sure thing. Your TWIA certification will count for 3 CEs. Oh, very cool. You're right, Michael. Any course and certification that you get, except for Xactimate, will count for CEs. Now, yeah, I went to a conference. So here's how I'll talk a little bit about conferences. I went to a firm's conference probably in my first couple years as an adjuster because I wanted to get to know the firms, and they were offering a lot of courses for continuing education. It was really good. I mean, I paid like $350 for the course, and then I had to buy, stay in a hotel. But after I paid the $350, they gave me literally about 15 to 20 hours of continuing education courses because I sat through, these really cool courses. And some of them were HAG certification. The guy was just talking about it for a couple hours. So I got 2 hours for listening to a HAG certification course. Another one was like some fire company or something that deals in fire prevention or fire investigations. I got a couple hours for that. So yeah, you can actually get, by going to a conference, and normally they're held in the spring. I think most of the conferences are done. There's a couple that are laggers, and they'll do some more in June and July. But most of the time, your conferences have been postponed because they know hurricane season is coming up, and they don't want to be stuck out doing a conference if an event was to come in. So they don't do anything in the summer. So pretty much you get them done in fall or spring. So yeah, so that's a great way to get some continuing education as well. Have you ever been to Crawford's? No, I have not. I went with Worley when they were Worley, which is now Alacrity. So that's who I went with, and I went with a Wardlaw one as well. But the Wardlaw one, honestly, was not what it was cracked up to be. I didn't feel like being in a drunken party. And unfortunately, they're gearing more towards, like going to Las Vegas, going to some stupid conference center where there's a bunch of pools and golf courses, and they all get drunk. So not interested in it, not my cup of tea. So I stopped going to conferences because I felt like the worth of them, they started to be more of a big party place where guys could get away from their wives, and I just was not interested in that. So that's my take on conferences. But some of the ones, and that's why I was so specific with some of the firms, they're actually very professional, like the Alacrity ones, the Worldly ones. They're very good. Pilot has a really good one, just I think somebody brought it up. Great, these are good firms that just have a better professionalism towards their conferences. They're there to teach and for you to learn. So they're really good. And they bring some good people too. I'm like, man, I love that. That was some good information. So yeah, good. Stick with the good firms. I think you won't be disappointed. I was deployed with Pilot. I really enjoyed Pilot. Very good company. Alacrity is obviously a very good company, and they're so big that they can provide you a lot of work. And like for instance with Alacrity, I think they deal with like about 15 different insurance companies. So if you get tired of working for one, you call up your manager and say, hey, can you put my name in for some work with this carrier over here? And maybe it won't happen right away, but eventually they'll do it. And you can keep finding work with people that you want to work for. So it works out really good. Pilot gave me 24 hours to go into their claims college property training. Yes, very good. Very good. Very good. Yeah, you gotta remember the firms, hey, remember, they're making money, guys. 40% of your paycheck is going to them. 40%. So man, they are happy if they can find a great adjuster who's loyal, does his job, keeps on working, does a great job, turns in a good file. Man, they'll call you up. Your managers will call you up and say, "Good job, man. We love having you on our firm." And you're like, "I'm getting my back scratched. Yeah, that's working out really good." Well, you forgot they just made 40% of your paycheck for the entire year. Anyways. These companies are filthy rich. That's all I can say. I have a Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi license. Cool. Anyone hiring for remote positions? I'm north of Houston. Oh man, you're in the best state. North of Houston, man. You could, let's see, what is that company? So the question is, how many rosters are you on, Cordell? I think you told me this one time, but I can tell you one thing, you're not on enough. If you're looking for work and you have experience, meaning training, you have licenses, and you've not been deployed, I know so many people are getting deployed right now. They're writing me all the time saying, just got deployed. There's jobs out there. If you're not getting called, you're not on enough rosters and you're not bugging them. Okay? Don't sit at home and wait for the phone to ring. It's not going to ring. Well, it might, but it's going to be far and few between. I think of the amount of calls that I got in my history as an adjuster, I think I received about 8 calls for work. 8 calls. The rest of them were me calling up and asking, hey, I just saw that this happened over there. Are you guys deploying? Well, you know what? I didn't even check to see if we have any deployments in that area. Yeah, and they said, was there a hailstorm? And I go, there sure was. There was 2-inch hail over that area. And then they put me on hold and they come back and I said, let me get you over to the deployment manager. So I get over there to the deployment manager and she says, actually, we hadn't even called a single soul yet. Are you available? And I said, heck yeah. Send me. And so I found work just calling people for work. And, and I'm watching the weather as I've got this weather app. And pretty much I watch the weather across the whole country when I'm ready to deploy. And I'll call up people all the time. Hey, hailstorm just happened this morning. This happened last night. You guys deploying? Oh, we haven't got any calls from any carriers yet. Well, put me on the list. I'm ready. And then they'll call me in a couple of days and say, yeah, we just got the assignment. They want 5 guys up there. And I'm like, okay, I'm gone. So that's the way to get work, guys. I think Texas license is reciprocal with other states. I think Florida for sure. Yes, Matthew. Texas is great. They do, I think it's like 25 licenses they're reciprocal with. Yeah, great. Actually, it might be less than that. It's like 22. Indiana is like 25 or 26 licenses. So Indiana is the best one to have. But really, don't switch just because I said so. But it's just that Indiana is reciprocal to some of the harder states to get. And so they basically are the best state to get as your home license. So if you are not an adjuster, if you're an adjuster and your home state does not have a license, I would choose Indiana if I was starting all out. Indiana is the first one that I would get because it's reciprocal to more states than Texas or Florida are, whatever. Means you can get more licenses for free with an Indiana license as your home state. Now, if you're in Texas, great, knock it out. And you probably won't work the extra 4 or 5 states that are reciprocal for Indiana. You probably won't work them, so it's not like a life or death situation like you made the wrong decision. Texas and Florida licenses are really Texas, Indiana, and Florida are the 3 best licenses to get because they're reciprocal with lots more. So if your home state has a license, you have to get that first. So if you live in North Carolina, you have to get a North Carolina license first. Take that test, and then you can take Texas. You have to take that test as well, and then you can reciprocal to everything. It was really convenient for me because at the time I became an adjuster, I was actually living in Texas, so I took the Texas test, and then I could reciprocal to all these others. So it just really depends where you live. Like I said, if you don't have a license in your state where you live, you can immediately just make Texas or Indiana or Florida your primary license. You're calling that a designated home state. So yeah, just keep that in mind. List of rosters, yeah. So Cordell, go to catadjuster.org. That's a webpage. I live on that site when I was looking for work. Those firms post their job opportunities all the time. Literally daily, it seems like it changes. Somebody's out there going, we need people added to our roster, sign up here. But what's good about it is it also lets you know kind of in an order of priority of who the best firms are to work for, and there's a page there that has a directory, and every imaginable firm that you could ever work for is on that directory. So free, just go find it, start signing up. They got clickable links that'll get you signed up to receive their paperwork and then get on their rosters. So best place. I love that site. It's been around since I was first getting started. Is it common to get deployed to the same CAT event by multiple firms? If so, how do you manage through that? Okay, so yeah, I have been deployed, got calls from multiple firms for the same event. And you will build a rapport with a firm, and it's different for everybody. So literally, I know some people that just love Pilot, and that's who they work for. They've made Pilot their primary person they work for, and they don't work for anybody else. Some people do it with Crawford. I did it with Alacrity, Worley when it first started. And the reason why is because ultimately when you get started, one firm is going to just find you like the best. They're just going to click with you. And they're going to keep calling you, and they're going to like your resume, they're going to like what you got going on, they're going to like the work that you get. You have to remember, when you do work, there are some people that are reviewing your work as a new adjuster. So if they go, oh, this guy's a bum, he's not doing anything good, he needs lots of training, you might not find favor with that firm. Whereas if you go off and work with another firm and do a CAT with them, they might just love you, and then you like them, you like the managers, you like working for them, and that turns out to be your firm of choice. So pretty much that's what happened with me is I got deployed with Worley, and then the opportunity came. Worley was not extending the contract at the time, but Pilot was. And so I jumped ship and went over to Pilot. And I loved Pilot, really great, and I liked working for Worley, and I wrote them back and said, hey, if you have any more deployments, my deployment finishes up here in 3 months, I wouldn't mind jumping back with you guys if you got something available. And I eventually, either one of those, Pilot wasn't extending, and Worley was not extending, I went to Wardlaw. So I jumped ship again, went to another firm. I'm in the same building. I'm in the same building, and all I did was switch firms. It's the craziest thing, and that's what I was saying, is that you'll get to know people, the same people you'll see at all these different places, because they're all on the same rosters. So when you get deployed to an event, you'll be spending your time walking up the aisles and saying hello to everybody that you used to work with, probably, and you see them working on a different firm. And then it's just it's the smallest little family. It's kind of neat. So yeah, so you'll eventually, if you get called, you're going to have a preference. If you've never been deployed with any of them, flip a coin, work with any of them. They're all good ones to get started with. But you only know after you work with them, and you see the people that they hire. So, and I'm not going to say who it is, but there were some firms I was just like, you know what, I don't like the people they hire. So I chose not to work for that company just for that exact reason. Is I didn't like the clientele. They were hiring different people with probably not as much skill. They didn't care who they were. They just wanted warm bodies on the roster, and I didn't like, I just didn't like it. So I chose to not ever work for that firm on purpose. And they call me all the time still want me to work for them. I don't do it. So it's just my personal choice. So you will eventually make your own choice of who you like to work with, because the people that are there, the managers, the people, will just click with you and you'll know. And then the loyalty comes back where if Pilot called me to go on a catastrophe right now, I probably wouldn't take it because my loyalty is with Alacrity. I have worked with them for so long and they have provided incredible income for me for so long that I call them and say, I'm ready to deploy. So I don't have to call Pilot and tell them that because I'm not really interested in deploying with them, but Pilot will call me for an event. And Crawford calls me, and Wardlock calls me, and IRS calls me. I mean, all these different people call during an event, but I just say, no, I've got my loyalty with another firm, but I really appreciate you calling. Maybe it'll get you in the future. And I tell them that. And I don't burn any bridges. I don't tell them bad things about them because I just don't know what will happen eventually with one firm. One firm could get sued and they'd be out of business, and then what? So who knows? I mean, anything is possible. I've seen big firms just fall apart, and it happens in this business. So you just do your job loyally with one company, and eventually you'll find that person will just click with you. That group will click with you, and you'll find some loyal managers who you really like working for. They give you lots of praise, whatever, and then you're like, man, I'm hooked for life. So now when I go on a catastrophe, they still call me all the time. Alacrity does, and at this time I'm not going, and I tell them, I'm probably not going out this year. So I tell them that, and so they go, well, if you ever change your mind, make sure you let us know. And I go, sure, I sure will. And then you have a button on their web portal that says I'm ready to deploy or whatever too, so you can let them know that way as well. But I can tell you, when I'm ready to go, I'm going to be calling them up and saying, I want to be out in a month. So first storm you got, I want to be going. I'm ready to go. And they will find me work. So it's a really good feeling eventually when you're ready to go. You can always find work. So it's really cool. New York State license, really the golden ticket. I heard a lot of people want to say that. But I tell you, most of the people that work in New York never want to work it again. Never want to work it again. It's an extremely hard test to get. It will get you deployed to a CAT event probably almost instantly if you have it, but I have never heard anyone go, I'm so glad I got my New York license, because people are just rude. I'm sorry, but they're just hard to work with. When I was working auto claims, and I'd have Jersey people, Pennsylvania people, Maryland people, DC people. I have all these different people, but boy, I tell you, the closer you got to New York, they're just rude, screaming and cussing at you on the phone, and I'm like, whatever. So anyways, I talked to the guys who had New York license, and they said, you know what? It's not all what it's cracked up to be. Yes, it'll get you deployed because they call it valuable, because it's a hard license to get. There's lots of stipulations to keeping that license. So yeah, there's always work because there's never enough New York adjusters. So yeah, if you want to guarantee yourself some work, get a New York license. Yeah, definitely. Any tips for differentiating between engineered wood and real wood flooring if a sample can't be obtained? Yeah, you can tap it. So I use my fingernail and just kind of tap on it. You can kind of get a feel if it feels solid or if it feels kind of hollow, or you can kind of feel that it's got a surface. So other place I look is I look at the transitions. If there happens to be like a T-strip that goes between a door, between a bathroom, I might try and peel up that. If I already know I'm replacing the wood, okay, so for instance, you gotta remember, you guys, you have the freedom to rip up that wood if you have to verify the product. If you got damaged wood and it's 7 years, over 5 years old, you're pulling that floor up. So I don't care. I'll get my crowbar out. I'll pull out that corner of that wood. I'm going to verify that wood and I'm going to take a picture of it. So you have that freedom. You are the adjuster. You can do it. So if there's any doubt in that wood and you want to make sure you're putting down the right product, get your crowbar out and tear that thing up. So now if you're repairing it, which would be something that's possibly under 4 years of age, is typically where I kind of go, I'm not touching the floor because it could be possibly repairable. I'm going to use my best guesstimate. I might ask the remediation company if they happen to be there, like if we got water damage to it. I might make them go ahead and pull it up just so I can blame somebody else. But no, I'm just kidding. I just have recognized the product over time. What I would recommend is spending some time on like the Home Depot sites, Lowe's sites, and just look at the product. And they have a cross section, they have the product, they show that, you know, some of this looks like shaved wood and it's really MDF core. Some of it's real engineered wood, which is layered plywood back and forth. Yeah, you just, you know, sometimes they call it snap lock. I mean, there's lots of different names for it. You got to get familiar with the product. This is your job. So instead of going on the website, why don't you just go by Home Depot, spend 20 minutes in there and just look at the product. And they'll tell you, engineered. And then they'll say, laminate. You know, so you'll be able to see what that product is. Only every once in a while will I do that, but it's a great learning tool just to walk in there and go, oh, that's laminate, okay. And then you actually get some training. So yeah, definitely. Paul, I'm thinking of somebody else, sorry. I got another guy that's got kind of a similar last name. I think you were in here before, but every time I see your name, it triggers me to somebody I used to work with at State Farm. So, and it has a similar window ski name on the end there. So, all right, I've been only doing this for 6 months, have more than I can handle. Yeah, no doubt. Oh, you're in New York? Are you in New York, Paul? So, Paul, are you in New York? You probably are. Yeah, like if you're in New York, you're gonna, you know, endless amount of work. You never have to worry about it. So, absolutely. All right. Any other questions? Well, this is good. We're going to learn lots here today. Oh, New Jersey. Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, see, and that's the thing. Tons of work up there because the population is so dense. There's just so many houses and so many people, and they're pulling claims all the time. So, yeah, 45 minutes from the city. Hey, Paul, do you have your New York license? Hey, Reggie. Hey, how you doing, buddy? Thanks for coming back in. So, Paul, do you have your New York license? This is a great day for a cup of coffee. Great day for a cup of coffee. All right, Paul's not answering me. Anyways, yeah, so New Jersey, super populated. Oh, there you go. Okay, so yeah, so he's basically living out of the city, driving in and handling claims. Because you know you have to remember your drive circle for daily claims is about an hour and a half one way. I've limited mine. I've kind of cut back a little bit, but 100 miles is what I pretty much tell people. Yes, pipe burst claims are so popular, especially in the northern areas. If you get into the cold weather, you're going to see those all the time. Freeze claims are really popular. That's where the copper pipe freezes, blows up, creates a break in the pipe, and then when it thaws, now you got an open water line that blows out throughout the house. And those are so common in the spring when it's just thawing and coming back in cold, thawing and coming back in cold. Tons and tons of time. We get them here in North Carolina too. And it's your outside spigots that actually burst. They have one little copper line on that busts, and we get that all the time. PEX piping, which is a very common water pipe, does not do that. But they have these plastic fittings that now have swapped over, started using plastic fittings for your fittings. got away from the brass fittings, which were the best stuff in the world for using for PEX fittings. They changed over to plastic, and now we're seeing some defective plastic T fittings and L fittings in your PEX, so that's actually breaking too. So it's always at the fitting, it's not the pipe. Pipe won't break. Pipe can hold 200 pounds of pressure. I've never had a problem. You're right, 100-year-old houses, man, there's nothing but pitted copper pipes that are literally leaking all the time. They get a little bit of iron and build up in them, and they pit, and then they leak. And it's nonstop. I mean, nonstop leaks all the time, all the time. Daniel, do you use measuring devices to determine moisture levels after water damage? I have often concerns about whether it is tap water or moisture brought in from outside. Yeah, great question, Bex. So what I use is a handheld moisture meter. A link in my description, the simple one I use, like 25 bucks, whatever. It's the greatest thing. I just take a photo, if the carrier lets me, okay? So that's gonna be your key factor, is the carrier will sometimes say, well, nope, I'm not allowed to use moisture meters at all. And they leave it up to the professionals, which are the mitigation companies that come in, and they do all their reporting. Why I'm not allowed to use it is ridiculous, but if I am allowed to use it, I take a photo of the floor over against like the door where there is no damage, and I say, you know, this is the moisture level for normal, and then I'll come over to areas and I'll take a picture and say, this is 1 foot off the wall, this is right next to the wall, this is over by the toilet, and I'll take photos of those moisture meters to show where the water kind of starts and stops as far as the damage goes. I also use a FLIR infrared sensor that actually attaches to the bottom of my iPhone and just clips it to the bottom, allows the camera to see infrared. And I can see everything in that wall, temperature change that shows me, and I take a photo of that. We're required in North Carolina to do that for water claims if the mitigation company has not come there. And the reason being is we have to be able to write a proper estimate for the water damage that's hidden. And if I just look at the floor and go, okay, well, I got 2 feet of baseboard, looks like it got wet, yet I can't determine really how far that water went in the walls or further. But an infrared camera will see that. We'll see the color change, and I can actually see the source of the water and see how it dissipates and goes off to different areas. And then I can take those photos, and now I can write a proper estimate. So now I'm writing 3 times the drywall repair than I was originally, which was just a little spot underneath the baseboard. So yeah, it's very important for us to write a good estimate and use the right tools. Link in the description as well if you guys need one. But it's a priceless tool. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. A great invention. And it's this big, little teeny thing, just clips in the bottom of the power port of my iPhone and logs in Bluetooth, whatever it is. I don't know how it works. And then it's able to use the camera of the iPhone in order to use that heat signature stuff. It's really cool. You're from Germany, by the way. Woo. Oh, very good. I've actually had a lot of foreigners watching from other countries on my web. So something's going on. I don't know. I guess people are finding it good stuff. I'm glad. Thanks for coming in there, Bex. I really appreciate it. Very cool. Yeah, and you guys build some great houses. Oh, man, the junk we built here in the United States, man, total garbage compared to the stuff we build over there. Germany, Europe, Italy, oh man, all these great places, man. This is like the French, I mean, they build some great houses. I wish we could build some stuff like that here. It's big old stone walls, 24-inch thick, man, it's just, oh. But man, those houses are 200 or 300 years old, been standing up there with nothing wrong with them. The plank roof systems, the big beams they put up there, I mean, they build them like they're gonna be there forever, and they are. If you guys ever get a chance to go overseas, you got to look at the architecture. It's just, you know, stop, take some time, go in some of the churches, go in some of the old pubs. Totally amazing how, you know, just you go in a pub and start looking around and seeing the beams in the house. You know, it's like, this is amazing, good stuff. It's they really build some good houses. So anyways, there's my little rant. This junk that we build in the United States, oh my goodness, totally. I used to be a home builder for 18 years before doing this. And I thought I built a good house until I went overseas and saw what a good house was. But I spent a lot of time building some really good stuff. And they don't build it like that even today, even the stuff that I used to do. So they wouldn't do it. So, really cool. All right, any other questions? Still got 17 people in here. You all have questions, man. 17 people definitely got a question for me. Oh, 18, just got another one. All right, guys, shoot me a question. What do you want to know about being an adjuster? If you're brand new and you're trying to get into this, I can certainly help you. My videos are here to help, try to make it easy for you guys. The reason being is that somebody helped me, and I felt like that was a great start. Now, he didn't have a YouTube channel, but he was nice enough to kind of take me under his wing and say, you know, this is what you need to do, follow this pathway. And then I was on some blogs and you know, forums, and learned the right steps of becoming an adjuster. So I felt like I was blessed to have these people that would tell me how to do this pathway or to make this a career. And so I just felt like the same thing I would do for you guys. So how can I overcome lack of construction knowledge? So very good question. So I have a video in my thing that talks about the materials that you would see on a job. So you can watch that. That is basically what I'm doing, is walking you through, you know, identifying material. And it's ultimately like anything. When you learn something new, what do you have to do? You have to study all the things that are involved in doing that trade. Okay, so for instance, a doctor or a surgeon doesn't become a surgeon just by reading some books. He actually has to get his hands dirty, get in there, and you know, obviously he's going to read the books and study the stuff before he actually gets to cut open somebody. But they're going to work on dead people first. So my recommendation for someone who knows nothing about building is to go buy some new home constructions and pretend like you're buying a house. Yeah, I mean, just walk in there, you know, wear your nice little coat, and you know, put on a nice collared shirt and walk up there and pretend like you're buying a house. And you walk into a house that's under construction, and you walk in there when it's just bare frame and walls. You walk into that one, then you walk into another one that happens to be, you know, maybe in the same neighborhood at another stage, and maybe they're putting electrical in at that point. And then you go find another one, and maybe there's a plumber in that next one. And then maybe there's a guy who's putting the HVAC in the next one. And then, when that's all done, you're able to, you can take some photos and you keep that for your own stuff, and you see what's behind the walls. And then think about it. That's what you're doing when you walk into this house. When you walk into this house and it says there's a water leak behind the walls, you know exactly why there's a water leak. Is because behind that bathroom cabinet, you've got a stack. You've got a T, it comes out to the 2 sinks. You've got 4 pipes, you know, the hot and cold for both sides, and they go up the wall somewhere. Well, guess what? When that guy's putting in that cabinet and he's screwing the cabinet against the wall, he doesn't know where those plumbing lines are. So what he probably did is put a screw through the plumbing line. And it took a couple of years for it to rust out, and eventually now we got this leak that happened behind the wall, and you're going as an adjuster, and the guy's saying, I got a leak that's coming from under the cabinet and I don't have a clue where it's coming from. I don't see any water. And there's the water's coming out the front of the cabinet, it's wet. The drywall on the back of the cabinet in the closet's wet. The carpet over there is wet. Well, then you tell them to call a plumber and say, hey, can you go call a plumber before I get there and have him find out where the leak's coming from. Well, he cuts a big hole in the back of that closet there where all the drywall's soaking wet. And he finds the screw that's stuck in the plumbing pipe, he fixes it, and you come walking in and go, okay, looks like we got some drywall repair, we got possibly the back of the cabinet's damaged, you know, all these different things. Well, you're just writing the piecemeal stuff that's damaged because you know what's there. And a lot of times it's opened up, so you already know. But if you are familiar with it in the construction stage, meaning if you walk through the house and you saw all the parts and pieces and how it goes together, then you're not walking into a house with all the drywall, the paint, and everything's beautiful and going, what's behind that wall? You know, you're kind of dumb to it. You don't know because you never looked at it in order to study it. So you can do it online, but I always tell people it's better to go to the site and learn hands-on. You can stand in that house, and if somebody comes by and go, what are you doing here? Oh, I'm just looking around. You know, and they just assume that you're probably trying to buy the house. So no one's going to say anything, and none of the workers are going to say anything to you. In fact, you could probably stand over the guy while he's putting in the plumbing pipe and have a chat with him and say, so how long you been a plumber? And these guys love it. They'll eat it up. I've had plenty of conversations with contractors when I was going in houses and just, asking them about the trade and whatever. And they love to talk. They love talking about themselves. So you can learn a lot. So construction experience on the outside is going to be just making sure you know the parts and pieces of a house, like a fascia and what it's called, a soffit on the underside of that fascia. You have to know those terms so that if you're looking for hail damage and you're saying the soffit was damaged with hail, it's going to look really stupid in your report because a soffit can't be damaged by hail. It just can't, not unless the roof is missing. But it's going to look really stupid if you're labeling the wrong products in your report. So that's why you want to know these pieces. So the simple thing, is to learn the parts and pieces so that when you write your report, you say the fascia is damaged, and then knowing that they come in 10-foot pieces, the metal does, then you can easily just say the repair is 10 feet of fascia on the left elevation. Very simple. And if you buy my macros, I have fascia already listed in there with a title. 8-inch material most of the time is the standard, and they bend it over and make the nice little bend over. Put a macro in, put fascia, boom, pops up in the Xactimate thing. You put in 12 feet, 10 feet, whatever. How much damaged, and boom, you're done that part of the estimate. The same thing goes for, when you do a roof. Put the macro in, puts every single part that's on that roof, and all you gotta do is count. I got 2 turtle vents, I got 3 pipe jacks, I got 1 HVAC vent, I got a satellite dish, and I got this much ridge vent. It's all in the macro, so it's a click and just change the numbers and you get your whole estimate written. So it's actually really, I use the macros every day to write my estimates, and I do it for interior, exterior, roofs, water claims, fire claims, everything. I use them every day. They're priceless. So you can get to, in the link in the description if you guys want to pick them up. They will really help you, and it's a steal. 450 of them for $50. So you cannot imagine how much time that will save you. Have you ever had a furnace blowback claims? Is that a northern thing with a furnace blowback? I mean, because they have those furnaces that they use, like old furnaces and stuff like that. So a lot of times if there's a furnace problem, we're going to ask them to call a contractor in for that. Unless I have like a tree that's down on top of like a condenser on the outside of the house, then I'm going to take a photo of that serial number. I'm going to look up the price, and I'm going to find as close as I can an Xactimate, 13 ton, 15 ton, whatever it happens to be, 13 seer, 16 seer, or a 2 ton or 3 ton unit. And that's what I'm going to put in my estimate for Xactimate, showing the tree hit the furnace condenser. Now, I'm not allowed to add the inside unit, so if it was a split system, I've got to, they're supposed to stay together. Well, that's not my job to write, because I can't write for something that's not damaged. Even though an HVAC contractor is going to come in and say, hey, I can't buy just the condenser unit. I've got to match these units. This is a 13 seer, they only make 16 today. We can't match it. Well, the HVAC contractor is going to write an estimate and saying, both units have to be swapped out to work properly together. Here's a supplement estimate, and the insurance company will pay it. But I can't write for the proper repair because that upstairs unit didn't get damaged. One part of the loss. The loss was the tree hit the outside condenser. So those are little tricks that you'll learn as you're writing estimates. They don't make sense when you're writing them because obviously he's going to have to write it, or he's going to have to write for the inside one too, but I'm not allowed to do that. So any type of furnace problem, I'm going to say, please call an HVAC contractor, unless it's obvious damage, like I mentioned, so he can diagnose the problem that you had with your furnace, and he'll give us a quote and let us know what's wrong with it. And I just put that on my estimate. It saves me much time on the estimate because I don't really want to spend a whole lot of time researching what it's going to cost to fix the stupid thing if I can just get a contractor to give me a bid. So that's how I work furnace claims. see. Which of the videos can walk me through a claim from the beginning to the end? I don't think I have a beginning to end, but there's some of the videos will do a hail inspection, and then I have another video that actually draws it. I don't have any videos for report writing because that's very specific to each carrier, and that's private information they don't want us sharing. But they will provide that report to you, and then you just fill in the blanks. And a lot of these reports kind of like, I can use all the information on one report and copy and paste it to another report. So they're very similar, but they're very specific to each carrier, so I can't actually show any of that information. I do all my photos. I have a whole video on how to take photos. So really just go through my videos. I've got a lot of videos up there. And like I said, my goal was to teach you guys how to do everything from start to finish as an adjuster. The only thing I haven't shown you is how to report right. But otherwise, the inspection's there. You're walking through my inspection. I do a perimeter inspection, show you what I'm looking for around the perimeters. I've done inside water claims, showing you how to do that. I've done a fire one, which I really can't show you how to write a fire one because every fire is different. But the Xactimate macros will show you everything that you need to write a claim, because it's in my macro. I write a whole fire claim in macros, like 150 lines in one of my macros that is just for fire. So we have to replace all the drywall and all the trim and all that stuff too. So macros are priceless. Considering moving to the Greensboro area over the winter, do you think I can find daily work with 1 year experience working daily claims? Probably, yeah. Greensboro is a great area. I get a lot of calls. In the past I actually have told them I won't go to Greensboro because it's too far out of my work area. But Winston-Salem is very close to Greensboro. Tons and tons and tons of work in Winston-Salem. So, and you could even branch out and zip down to Charlotte and pick up some overflow. So you just gotta remember, as an adjuster, you're driving about an hour and a half. And a new adjuster, you're gonna be driving potentially 2 hours. They're gonna give you all the dirty claims out in the middle of nowhere. So if you're willing, as a new adjuster, to say, you just give me a claim, I'm gonna do it. Well, guess what? That's your claim count. So it's kind of like, not like your body count, but your claim count is so important when it comes to getting hired by these firms, because that's all they care about. How many claims have you handled in water losses? How many mobile home claims have you handled? How many roof claims have you handled? How many wind claims have you handled? How many tornado claims have you handled? Those are numbers that they actually put on their portal and say, how many have you done? And if you can pick up these claims that no one else wants, all because they're 2 hours away, who cares? Your claim count's going up. And so 1 year experience becomes 2 years experience, which becomes 500 claims a year, which becomes 1,000 claims every 2 years. So you start blowing out some claims, and people are going to say, you're an experienced adjuster because you've been handling this many claims. But if you don't handle them because you're too picky about driving, or you don't want to go to that area. I mean, I lived up in the Maryland area, and Paul, Paul lives in Jersey. He knows what I'm talking about. You go to some areas where there are 40 people standing out in the street looking at you when you drive up in your car to do this inspection, setting up your ladder. And it's freaky. And this is in the middle of the day, 9 o'clock in the morning, man. These people are staring at you like, because you don't belong in that neighborhood. And it's really freaky. So if you're willing to go and do those claims, I was in DC and Maryland handling some claims that scared the tar out of me. I was like, I need to be packing. This is crazy. This is scary. I thought for sure my ladder was getting stolen before I even got off the roof, because there were so many people on the street. It was just freaky. So yeah, so if you're willing to do those yucky claims at the start just to build up your claim count, then you're solidifying yourself the future work, because you're going to find some loyalty with that carrier that's going to say, thank you for doing that. You've shown some loyalty. We're going to show you some loyalty, and they're going to deploy you to a CAT or give you more claims in your local area. And then here's the thing you got to remember, guys. This business rotates claims adjusters so regularly. And the reason why I say that is I know firsthand from here in North Carolina, when I was in Indiana and I was in Louisiana, I was constantly asking my managers to come to North Carolina. I said, whenever there's an opening in North Carolina, please let me know. And they said, well, we got the area covered, we don't need anybody, blah, blah, blah. And it was because there was a guy, I think that was coming from Virginia, that was coming down and handling claims in the Raleigh area. And he was willing to drive to 3 stinking hours, 2.5 to 3 hours down from Virginia to come and handle claims in Raleigh because he liked the Raleigh work. Well, it wasn't until I think he ended up changing his desire, got married, had a kid, whatever, didn't want to do all that driving anymore, that he stopped working the Raleigh area. My firm called me up and said, hey, position opened up in Raleigh, do you want to come? I'm like, dang yeah, I'll be there next week. And I moved. But I had called him 8 or 10 times prior to that, asking on a regular basis, every couple, 3 months, is there any Raleigh positions? And he's like, no. So things change. And now, how many people are probably asking to come to Raleigh? Well, guess what? The rest of us are all handling Raleigh right now. So until I change, there isn't going to be a position. Or until the other guy that's local, he changes, there won't be any positions. So that's how daily work works. So you have to be willing to go, move on a dime's notice, and literally say, I'll be there next week ready to handle claims if you can give them to me. And those people the firms love loyalty. And so you gotta remember that. That goes a million miles. So let's see. Also struggle with construction knowledge. How will you know when I'm ready to handle claims? Andriana, I would say, don't tell anybody that you're not ready. Because here's the thing, if you walk out to a job, somebody gives you a daily claim, and you don't know what the stuff is, whatever, and you've just taken some great photos. What I tell people is take tons of photos. You can always delete them later. If you took 50 photos of the wrong thing, doesn't matter, you can delete them all later. But you can go home and do the research while you're sitting there writing a report of something you didn't know. Like you're like, what the heck's the box on the side of the house? I don't know what that is. And I take a close up of it and it says AT&T on it. And you're like, I don't have a clue what that is. Then you go home and go on Google, AT&T box on the side of the house, what is it? And then they say, oh, that's a fiber optic cable box. Okay, well, I don't need to worry about that. Whatever. So you can actually do your research at home for stuff that you don't have a clue what it is. But just take lots of photos and you'll be fine. And then you can also research on Google and just ask all the questions you don't know. So never turn down work. Always try to get the work and stumble through it later behind the scenes. Like you don't have to tell your manager you don't know anything. You just kind of fumble through with it. And even if it took you 3 hours to write a half an hour estimate, at least you got it done. So just kind of see it as an opportunity to learn. You'll get faster later. Let's see. Good questions, guys. And don't forget to use the super chat button if you guys want your question to stand out, because there's a bunch here I'm having to go through and I might miss them. But you can use a super chat button and get yours highlighted, so I'll for sure to get it. What are typical expirations for the different licenses and certifications? Yeah, that kind of changes with each certification. Like TWIA is every year. State Farm certification, you just do it once. You don't have to renew it. USAA has a very strict certification for handling their claims, and I think it's every 2 years, and you have to get it every year, and it's a pain in the neck. Every 2 years, it's a pain in the neck. That's to handle USAA claims. I was certified with them once, and then I never got any claims, so I just didn't renew it. And I didn't need any more work, so I just skipped it. Let's see. HAG certification, I think, is every year. I wouldn't recommend spending the money on that. That's really expensive. Xactimate level 1 and 2, once you have it, you don't have to do any more. So there's only a few certifications that you have to renew. So it's actually pretty cool. Once you get them, you're good. The licenses for state licenses, most of the time, are every year or every 2 years. And they have to be renewed. So that's an investment in your business, guys. So you want to, this is what I was talking about, setting money aside, is that the last thing you want to do is get 15 licenses, and then in 2 years, they all come due on your birthday, and you got to come out with $4,500 or whatever. If you have 15 licenses and they're $300 a piece, which they're not that much, but I'm just saying, then you got to come out with a massive amount of money all at once to renew all your licenses. That's not a fun place to be. So what I recommend is that you budget, okay, I've got 10 licenses, they're all about $150 each. I'm looking at, $1,100 to $1,200 every couple of years for these licenses. Okay, well that's $50 a month for 2 years. Or maybe $100 a month, I can make sure I have the money. Whatever it is, you set aside that money into a separate account and just call it your license account or whatever, or your certification, whatever. But you're putting aside that money so that when they come due, you're just pulling the money out of that account. But every single month, you're putting that money away, ready for the next year of licenses. So I have 13 licenses, and I just know I've got to set aside some money in order to be able to pay for that when they come due. So great plan, works out every time, works good. Can I buy the Florida license without taking the test? So Guimar, so if I already have the Florida license, can I buy state license that says Oklahoma? Yes, you sure can. South Carolina, you can't. You got to take South Carolina's test. But yeah, all of those are called reciprocal. So once you have Florida, you literally can just apply for those other licenses, pay the fee for that license, and they will give you that license. As long as you have Florida, Texas, Indiana, those are called like the mother lode, or what do you call them? They just basically designate home states that are very powerful states. They're just saying, hey, if you can take this test and pass it, then you deserve to have these other licenses too. And you just pay the money to that state for that license and keep track of it. Okay, so yeah, but the South Carolina one is an actual written test you have to take. You can't, that's not reciprocal. But it's a great state to have because they do have a fair bit of storms that come up the coast, and I've worked a lot of South Carolina stuff, and it's good stuff, good money. Would you say the claims adjuster is your dream job? Yes, absolutely, without a doubt. Okay, guys, I was a contractor for 18 years building, I was a remodeler, okay? So I was a builder, but I remodeled entire houses. We put second stories on houses, existing houses, tore off the roof, put a second story on, replumbed the house, put all new electrical, plumbing, heating, and air, everything, home house theaters, or whole house audio, home theaters, redid the kitchens, all new flooring, all new trim, everything. Redid these houses, big remodels, high dollar remodels, high remodels. And I was doing that for a good 10 years, okay, before the economy crashed in 2008. You couldn't pay me to go back there and do that job now. Even now with the economy totally booming and builders can say whatever price they want, people are going to buy their houses, I still wouldn't do it. The amount of headaches and financial problems and contractor problems was endless. Now I make good money. I made really good money doing it. So it's all about enjoying the work that you do and making good money doing it. And as a contractor, I enjoyed the work. I loved building houses. I hated the people side because it was all about money. It was all about, we do a change order. It might be a $10,000 change order. And they signed it and said, yes, I agree to this change. And yes, you understand it's going to be $10,000 if I do this change. Well, then when it comes around to paying for that change, they get all mad at you and go, no, that was included. And I'm like, no, it was not. I have a contract. And then you're sitting there having to have this awkward conversation with somebody who doesn't want to pay the $10,000 for the change that they agreed to and signed to. It's like that's your signature, right? Yes. Well, you agreed to a $10,000 change order. I need $10,000. Well, I don't have the money. And it's like all of a sudden you're like, this is very awkward and very bad. And then the other conversations I was always having is that I was building very high-end, very quality work. And so many people, were very rude, and they would come in and say, you're just trying to rip people off, because my prices were high because I was building very, very high custom homes and very, very high quality product. And then, you got Crackerjack builder down the street building the same square footage for half the price. And people were like, you're ripping people off. I can't believe that you're charging this much. And I'm like, well, if you don't want to buy it, then stop coming into my house. So I'm sitting there going, I don't need to argue with you. I'm a custom home builder building very, very high-end remodel stuff. And if you want my services, and you're willing to agree to the price, then you're going to get a really good product. Anyways, all of that was just headaches, 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 headaches. Okay, come fast forward to this job. Everybody loves when you come to their house because you're helping them. Okay, they're inviting you into their house just to say, I've got water damage. I've got a roof that got blown off my house. I've got, I don't have any money to fix it, and you're here to help me. And everybody's so happy to see you, generally. I mean, you do have some people that are kind of rude, but not very often. And when you leave, you're now telling them, I'm going to help you get your house back to normal. I'm going to write you a really big check, and I'm going to say this to the desk adjuster, and I'm going to vouch for this damage and that damage and that damage. And the beam that comes across their face, they're so happy to see you and so happy that you're going to write an estimate for them that they just greet you on their way and your smiles and giggles all the way. So generally speaking, you're the knight in shining armor to this person, and you get to feel good all day long that you're doing this. Now, I don't get to do the bad side, which is on the phone, 10 days later and say, oh, I'm sorry, sir, but that's not covered on your policy. And that's where everybody gets screamed at and hollered at and cussed at because I'm paying premiums. I should be getting this for free. Well, sorry about that, but that's not how it works. So I don't have that responsibility on my side as an independent. I just, yeah, it's a hot and sweaty job sometimes, but in the summer it's gorgeous, sometimes in the morning and it's beautiful. And then in the winter, it's the best weather in the world. I don't live in the snow. I live in the, where it's maybe 40 or 50. It doesn't really drop below much of that unless it's nighttime. And it's just not, I'm out in a light jacket and enjoy my job. So it's just, I think the fact that my job, I can close my responsibility of the claim every day. There's no hanging over. I don't have to hold this claim for 3 months. I just handle my daily duties, write the estimate the best I could based on what I saw, and pass it on to the next person. And most of the time, I hardly ever see those claims back. Maybe for the next day for a couple of quick revisions to the estimate, but otherwise I never see it. And so it's just a great job. People call me back 2 weeks later, and they'll say, thank you, I got my check, it's great, boy, you did a great job writing that estimate, we're so happy, and we're gonna get everything fixed. And so we get all these compliments that people are shooting back as well, saying they're really happy. So, and then when I go to catastrophes, people are thrilled that you're there because their house is destroyed, and you're gonna help them get their house back to normal. So you become the hero, without a cape. So, so I love my job. Anyway, so let's see. Is it my dream job? Yes. I inspected around 3,000 damages. In Germany, I get around $150 to $200 per order. Do you have a lot of rework per order? So yeah, so that's probably a very comparable price point. I mean, I don't know what euros are as far as dollars go, but yeah, I mean, you make $200 to $300 American is pretty much, the basic claim price, which is my take home. On a very simple loss. Anything higher, you might make $400 to $500, something like that, for something a little bit bigger. But here it's a numbers game. A numbers game is to try and get as many claims as I can per week. My average in the summer is 20 per week. So if you're making between $300 and $500 a claim, then you're pulling in some good money in a week. Now you've got expenses and taxes and all that other stuff that you're gotta take into consideration. Winters are a little bit slower, but by the time I pull out a whole year and you average out the really good summers, possibly a hurricane that came into the area. So here as a daily adjuster, I hope for hurricanes too that I don't actually have to deploy for, because those hurricanes come in and bring really bad weather because we're close to the coast. So I love when a hurricane comes and knocks out Wilmington because I can guarantee Raleigh's going to get a ton of wind claims at 60 mile an hour or 80 mile an hour wind gusts. They're going to take off every single roof that's a 3-tab. So I'm going to get a ton of claims living right here at home if the hurricane hits Wilmington and destroys it. Now, I feel bad for Wilmington, but I'm not going to drive to Wilmington to handle claims because I'm so close to the coast that I know that I'm going to get tons and tons and tons of claims for a year and a half strong from that hurricane. So I love hurricanes, love it. And the same thing goes if you live in Texas and you live in Houston. tons of stuff comes inland, knocks out a bunch of stuff in Houston, even potentially Dallas, not as much up there, but you live on the Alabama coast, Mississippi coast, any of those, you're going to get a ton of inland claims that's going to keep you very, very busy as an adjuster. So coastal, I tell people, say, move to the coast. Don't live out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, I lived in Indiana for a while, and yeah, we had a ton of hail up in Indianapolis, but there were so many adjusters that were up in that area, we just didn't stay really busy. So yeah, and then the hail only happens a certain time of the year. So then you're dealing with just all the water claims and every other miscellaneous claim. But if you work in an area that can get everything, you got your hurricanes, you got your cold weather, you got your water claims, you got flood claims, you got, whatever. You can stay really busy. And if you stay busy, you can make a lot of money. And rework, hardly ever. I'm lucky, maybe one a month, or two a month maybe, where somebody will call back. And this is really what it comes down to, is the desk adjuster is really not doing their job. I have one particular person that is a thorn in my side as far as a desk adjuster. And I know her name, and she constantly writes me back silly things to have to address on estimates. And I'm like, you could probably have made that decision besides having to call me and talk to me about this. But she's an inexperienced adjuster who is basically afraid to make a decision as a desk adjuster, so she's relying on me to make that decision for her. And she makes, she reopens the claim. I have to go back in, do the 4 or 5 little changes and put it back, when she could have done those at the desk in 5 seconds. But anyway, so you have some of those that are reworks that are like, this is stupid, but you do it and you don't really make a big deal about it. You just mark it up as, hey, this is what I'm gonna do. Others might be, for instance, I had a big fire. And there was a lot of hidden damages. I couldn't get to the roof. I couldn't see the damages up in the attic. It was a 412. A tree hit the roof, and the tree actually caused the fire to the HVAC unit, hit the gas line and started the house on fire on that side. So, but the tree did enough damage to the roof where it crushed the framing, and it's a 412, so I had no access to the attic. So I already know there's gonna be supplements there. I couldn't see. So that might be a claim that will come back to me in a couple weeks or a month when the contractor gets in there and he opens it up and he finds ceiling joists broken, the roof rafters broken, maybe even the ridge is cracked. There could be anything in there that I couldn't see. The 2 top plates on the outside wall could have got broken, crushed or broken. There's lots of damage there, and he's going to shoot in a supplement. Well, I don't necessarily have to write the supplement estimate. He's going to write an estimate and say, these are all the things that we did in order to repair that. And that desk adjuster is going to be like, well, I'm not familiar with this as much as the field adjuster was. So she's going to send that estimate over to me and say, can you review this and let me know if this is okay? And I'm just going to write back and go, yay or nay, looking at it and saying, well, what's he doing? What's he adding in? And they go, oh yeah, I remember that. The tree hit the side and I could see the damages. Yeah, that seems good. But if he comes back with a $40,000 estimate on top of mine, then I'm going to be reviewing that for a long time. And I might even call him and say, let's go over this line by line so you can tell me what each one of these line items are, because this doesn't seem right. There's no way that I missed $40,000 on a tree hit. It's not going to happen. So those are the ones where I'm going to actually have to spend some time reviewing that estimate, calling the roofer or the contractor and going over that with them. But that's so rare. It literally maybe once a month that I get something like that. I like to schedule those scary claims as early as possible so those types of people are still sleeping. Yes, that's so true, Paul. I am right there with you. Or hungover. So I call them up and say, I'm meeting you at 8 o'clock in the morning. They go, I'm still in bed. I said, well, this is the day you're getting out of bed. And and they go, well, I don't ever get out of bed before 9 or 10. And I go, well, today is the day you're getting up at 8. And they don't argue with you. They just go, okay. And so I'll be knocking on the door. No one will come out. The neighbor will be looking at me through the window or whatever. And they'll come just got out of bed, you know, come down, they're rubbing their eyes, you open the door, and I go, well, thanks for meeting me this morning, I appreciate it. And I'm doing that on purpose because I don't want to be around when everybody else is waking up. So, yes, absolutely, you can make it work. But some people do afternoon appointments. There is no way, never in a million years will I do an afternoon appointment because everybody's at home, up and drinking on their front porch or whatever they're doing. So, no thanks. No thanks. All right, this might be a dumb question. Never a dumb question, Matthew. But so you need felt or synthetic for a mod bit roof. What about metal roofs as well? So it's never a dumb question. So here's the thing. I typically, I might just put a note in the file saying no verification of the type of underlayment that is on this roof. So if I'm replacing metal, then I'm going to throw 15 felt or 30 felt or whatever, based on the slope. I'm going to put it in there, but I'm going to say may need to be verified later to see if it was synthetic or any other type of material underneath it. So it's real important for you to just understand you can put anything in your report, anything on the documentation of your photos, anything at all in your report, as long as you justify it with an explanation. So if you don't know, so like for instance, when I was writing that tree estimate, I didn't know if there was framing damage. I put in 2 rafters because I could generally say, yep, the tree is definitely, I'm looking at the photo, I got a great photo and the rafter is, it's bent. I put in 2 rafters. I wrote the estimate for 2 rafters. And then right under there, put an F9 note in the estimate and say, may be additional damage but couldn't verify until the plywood has been taken off the roof. Totally justifies why I wrote what I wrote with an explanation. And then I write that exact same note in my GLR, which is a general loss report, under the roof description or wherever, back slope or whatever. I'll just write that same note and just let them know could be supplements on this area, don't know. So on the same thing on the metal or the butylene whatever, roof, I don't know what's under it. So I can't verify that, so I just write a note and say, hey, I don't know what's under this, but we'll put this product to start with, but if it ends up being something else, we can supplement later. So very easy. It gets you out of a lot of if, ands, or buts. Same thing goes for like if I can't get in the attic. I'll just say opening's too small, because I'm a big guy. So if I got a 2x2 scuttle hole, I'm not bringing my ladder in to climb up a 2x2 scuttle hole in the attic. So I'll just take a photo, put a tape measure up there, and take a photo of that opening. Access to attic was limited, unable to access. What are they going to say? Get your fat butt up there and go in there? No, I couldn't get up there. So I just take a photo of the attic and say I couldn't get up there. I had never had anybody call me back and go, why didn't you get up in there, you big fat boy? I never had anybody question what I put up there. So you put it in the notes. Now, if you left it out, took a photo of the attic access, and then down when it comes down to the writing the report and it says attic, and you just say no damage in the attic, then they're going to write back and go, I don't see a photo inside the attic. How can you say there's no damage there? And then you're going to get this big kickback from your file reviewer saying, where's the photos of the attic? And then they could even tell you to go back out and take those photos. That's the biggest thing that you want to be careful of is, I'm not climbing up an attic I can't get in. As the scuttle hole's too small for me, I'm not going up in that attic. And I'm not going to get my ladder and just stick a camera up there either. It's not the best way to take a picture of the damage. So what I'll say is, I'll write a description and say, access to the attic damage was limited and therefore photos were not included. If supplements are found later, we can certainly add to the estimate later. Just description, just being honest with them, it's a good way to take care of it. I'm a truck driver in North Carolina. What is the possibility of becoming an independent adjuster? What is the first step? Well, Tyrone, thank you for joining me. It's a long process. So what I tell people is say, don't quit your day job. Do all of the things that are involved with becoming an adjuster while you're working at your day job. Number one, because you're going to need money to get the certifications, the licenses, the training, and you can use your extra money that you have from your job to potentially fuel those or pay for those over time. And then here's the thing, the whole point is you can't jump in and be an adjuster until you have the experience, the knowledge, and the training. So the last thing you want to do is quit your job and then start the training, because you might be 6 months to a year before you have all that training, and now you're out of work. So I always tell people, just keep your job and do all this stuff while you're transitioning, and potentially, if you're the really, really lucky people, you might get a daily claim while you're still doing your job, and then you can work that on Saturday. You can work it in the evenings. I can inspect somebody's house if it's a inside water claim when it's dark outside. Now, I've taken photos in the dark, and it's really funny because it was in a time change, and I was working a really late claim, and it was pitch black, and I took a photo, and my flash went off, and it wasn't the best picture in the world for the front of the house, but there wasn't any outside damage. I just needed to get the front of the risk photo. It was a terrible picture, but I took a picture of the front of the house, I took a picture of the mailbox, and I went inside and took all the photos for the inside damage. So I work in pitch black. So I've worked it, and you can get around it. So yeah, so do your training, and then get all your licensing, and then potentially, bring yourself ready. Once you get all the rosters, you tell them you're ready to go, and you're calling them and you're bugging them for work. They may grant you a few, and that's what happens. It starts very slow at the start. You might only get one claim a week from one firm, one claim a week from another firm, two from another, and then here you are, you're only at 4 a week. Well, you can't survive on 4 a week, so fit them in on the side while you're, working your day job. Work them on the weekends if you can't push them out that far. Then they don't like you to put them out too far. But let's say on Wednesday, you got a claim in, and you write a note and say, first available appointment was Saturday. Well, first available for who? Well, in the notes, it just says first available appointment was Saturday. Hey, you make your own schedule. You can make that decision to put that claim off till Saturday if you want. Now, I wouldn't put it off a week, but every day of the week, I put out claims 3, 4, 5 days out. Every day of the week. That's just because I'm busy. So I can't, based on location, I can't see everybody within a day or two of getting my claims. It's not the end of the world if I'm 4 or 5 days out. Now, when I get to be a week out, I'll send a note to my my manager, my team manager, and say, just want to let you know I'm about a week out on claims. Just want to let you know. They're going to write back and go, everybody's a week out, no big deal. Because that's normally what happens. When you get to be a week out, that means all the adjusters are busy in that area, and you all got kind of hammered with a bunch of claims, and that's why you're a week out. But most of the time, I'm 3 days out, 3 or 4 days out. So if you are a new adjuster, you get a claim in on Wednesday, and your Saturday's your only day off, see it on Saturday. See 3 on Saturday, whatever. Put them all off and do them all on the same day. You can get some part-time work as an adjuster as long as you get the training. Hey, and then it comes back to that claim count again, is that the next roster that you get on, and you tell them, I got 50 claims under my belt of water claims. That's going to go a long way. Oh, yeah, you got 50 claims, man, you know what you're doing. And they're going to start giving you some claims. And then you just keep working that way. But I was telling you, get on lots of rosters, because there are no-name insurance companies, there's medium name, and there's big name. And when you're new, you take every no-name you can get. Every no-name adjuster and carrier that you can get, because that's getting numbers on your resume for how many claims you're handling. And no, sometimes they don't pay very well. But if you're brand new and you're trying to get into this business, you take the dump stuff too. I had a couple carriers that I hated working for when I first started. They were terrible claims, terrible locations, but I just looked at it as a claim count, and that's what they're asking. All these firms are saying, how many claims you worked? And you want to be able to say, I got a couple hundred. It's exhausting for me to clarify the most excessive claims with the customers. The customers usually want to rehabilitate the costs of the insurance, and it's difficult to distinguish between them. Yeah, so when you get into a contract, so probably over there you're talking about being with a contractor, and they're disagreeing. Yeah, so it's frustrating. So when I get a contractor involved, that makes for a difficult claim, and it's just because they're out to look after the customer, and they're trying to make sure they got enough money to do the job. So they're certainly going to be trying to inflate their costs as much as possible, also to make sure they're making some profit. So what I like to do, and I deal with contractors this way, is I go, well, I'm certainly going to be expecting an itemized estimate from you, so we can go over every line item in this entire repair to make sure that we're on the same page. And those guys are normally the guys who bulk charge. They go drywall, 3,000, painting, 5,000, tile, 8,000. They just throw these numbers out, and you're like, well, where are you getting that from? And then they come down to the bottom and they got an $80,000 estimate, and you're like, where'd you come up with that number? Oh, that's just what we charge. Well, guess what? Today, you're not charging that. So what I do is I precursor the contractor. He comes out there and I go, you're using Xactimate to write this estimate, right? And he goes, Xactimate, what's that? Well, as soon as I hear that, I already know that his estimate's going to be wrong. Absolutely wrong. The Xactimate is not perfect, so I don't want to make that sound like that's the end of all ends, is the best thing in the world. But it's a guideline, it's an average, it's all for standard products, they hardly ever let us use the high grade stuff on the estimates. So everything is kind of all a standard, but it gives the insurance company, hey, here's a medium priced estimate, and if we have to pay a little bit more than that, okay, I get it, but we're not gonna pay less than this most of the time, but we're expecting this to be kind of close to the actual cost of what it's gonna cost to repair. So when you get a contractor that comes in with like these flat rates and they just throw in all these big numbers, you're going to have a lot of arguments. So this is where you're going to come back and say, well, I'm going to hold you accountable to the standard in the industry, which is Xactimate. And Xactimate comes up with the average price for these repairs. So unless you're willing to write an estimate in Xactimate for me to be able to review line by line, then we're going to have a lot of disagreements here, and the insurance company is not going to accept your estimate. And you can just tell them straight out. Say, I'm going to write an estimate, and the insurance company is going to go by my estimate. So unless you can prove line by line item the differences in my estimate versus your estimate, we're not going to be on the same page. We're going to have an argument, and the insurance company is going to back my estimate. So if you tell the contractor that, it saves a lot of troubles in the future of them arguing with you on the back end, because they know they're going to lose, because they already know they're overcharging, or they don't know their job well enough to give an accurate estimate. So that's how you deal with contractors. And a lot of them will be jerks, and they'll argue and say, exactly, it's just to rip people off. They don't do anything honest out there, and that's just somebody who doesn't know how to write an estimate. So they're relying on just their floating prices that they've been charging or overcharging people for the last 20 years, and they've got away with it. So that's how you deal with contractors. So hi, Daniel, how can I go about getting a ride along in Florida? So great question. I used the Cat Adjuster site. There was actually it was Adjuster Pro, I can't remember now there was a blog, so there's probably somebody out there now. Actually, Reddit's got one. I'm on Reddit. So Reddit's the new, blog thing for everybody. So if you're not on Reddit, there's an adjuster forum out there. And so what I would do is just put a comment out there, start a new conversation, say, hey, I'm in Florida. I'm looking to drive with an adjuster. Anybody, an adjuster in Florida that would like a ride along. I'll carry your ladder. I won't ask you a bunch of questions, and you don't have to pay me. And you're going to get somebody who's going to write to you and go, sure, yeah, you can ride along with me. Oh, as long as I don't have to carry my ladder, this would be great. And that's what I did in Texas. Is I went onto a forum and I basically said, who in Houston, is working claims or wouldn't mind me tagging along with them? I'll carry your ladder and you don't have to pay me. And the guy jumped up on it, and I went with him on 3 claims. 1 was a roof and 2 was inside. And I said at the end of that, I actually sat with him at the office and tried to fumble through Xactimate with him. He wasn't a good trainer for Xactimate. It just wasn't his specialty on that. He was really good at kind of, being open to walking me through the estimate, but he wasn't a really good trainer. So, but anyways, I really am very grateful for what I got a chance to do, because it solidified all the questions that I had about what occurs on that inspection. Like, what are the conversations like? What am I talking to this person about? So it was really cool, because then I realized this is really casual. It's like, oh, thanks for meeting me in this appointment, and can I take a look at the damage? Tell me what happened. Oh, my toilet overflowed, and where did the water go? Oh, water went all the way out here, and they'll show you the little line, and oh, well, did any of your personal belongings get damaged? No, nothing like that. We washed all the towels, everything was fine, and and we just kind of have that little conversation, and they fill me in on pretty much everything that's important. And then I just measure the place, take photos of it, go home and write an estimate for the damages that I see. And so it was really cool when I did that drive along, because I got to hear that conversation, realizing it wasn't intimidating. The people were actually really nice, welcomed you into their house, they're happy to be there, showed you everything you needed to know. And with your knowledge of construction or your knowledge of damaged items, it's enough for you just to be able to look at it and go, yeah, I can see the carpet's wet. And so, yeah, the pad's got to come out. And probably got to clean the carpet. The carpet doesn't look like it's shredding, so it's good, new enough that it'll probably be fine, probably reattached just fine. You're just documenting and kind of looking at those things and going, is this carpet going to go back down normal? Yeah, it looks like the edges aren't frayed, looks good. And if it was, then you take a picture of the frayed edges, it looks like the carpet won't go down. Looks like it's going to show, the imperfections around the edge, and so then you buy the carpet. So I got a photo of the edge of the carpet. It's all, torn, or it's all coming apart. Delaminating is what they call it. The back, the nylon's coming off the back of the carpet. I just take one little quick photo. Carpet delaminating on the back of the carpet, justified to replace the carpet. So now, instead of a line item where I'm cleaning the carpet, now I'm replacing the carpet. So super easy. So by doing the drive along, you're just asking somebody to kind of get a feel for what it's like to do claims in your area. And there's somebody out there that'll let you do it. And even if you have to do it for a week, you're going to get some incredible information that's going to be valuable. Hey, Ringo! Hey! Oh man, you missed it. I've been on here for 2 hours. But welcome. Glad you can make it. Oh, celebrity homes. Yeah, man. Not local, but who did I do? Now, I can't remember. They were a celebrity. I went into, so this happens when you go on catastrophes. So I was in Florida, and then I was in Texas, and I went in these, so Rockport, Texas, I was on a hurricane claim down there. So all these mega mansions on the coast. Oh my goodness. You go in there, and these houses, man, you're just like blown away. But I don't think they were famous people, but just people that had way too much money. And so you walk into these houses, and floor to ceiling, marble on the walls, and you just have to write these estimates. They're really hard, because you're just documenting some very unique products. But the cool thing is Xactimate has the high grade option. So when you walk into a house and you have gold plated everything, and you obviously can put in the high grade line item, it really boosts your estimates up like tremendously, which is really cool. But yeah, I don't remember people like celebrities, but they were really wealthy people. Oh, I remember, I did. I went to a guy in Maryland. He was the owner of General Electric. Okay, thing sitting on a 50-acre plot. Walked up, this man, it was huge. The butler meets me at the door. The maintenance man follows me around the house, and he said, yeah, this is, what's his name's summer home, second home. And what happened was he had 1-inch copper lines, water lines, as the feed lines that went through the whole house. And some idiot put it up in this, the entranceway was a 2-story or 3-story kind of bell tower thing. And the outside wall was where this 1-inch water line somehow got too close to the edge of the outside wall, and it froze and bursted. Nobody's at the house, burst in the middle of the night and flooded 3 stories of this house with 1-inch water line blowing through this whole house for like 6 or 8 hours. I mean, it was just, and it was gorgeous. Oh my goodness, the house was totally amazing. The basement was like this log cabin, lumberjack kind of retreat thing with, beams, and he has all these stuffed heads, of all the animals, and pool table that looked like it was $100,000. I mean, it was just, everything got just drenched. And we're walking up on the main floor, and the butler's going, "There's water under this floor," and they're squishing it, and it was such a mess. But that was a $1 million claim. I didn't get to do it. I actually took all the photos, and I sent it back to my, I had to turn in a reserve report, which is once you get these big losses, the insurance company wants to know, how much money are we looking at as far as this claim. And so I said, I think we're at 500 grand plus on this one. And so they immediately took the file away from me and said, "This is a large, super large loss. You don't have time to write this one, so we're going to take it away." So I lost that one, but I took all the photos, and it was really cool going through the whole house and seeing just an incredible amount of damage. And I got paid pretty handsomely for the work I did, because it was T&E, which is time and expense. Anytime there's a super large loss like that, they start paying you time and expense. And I was out there like 4 hours taking all the photos, so it was a fun event. But yeah, you could go to Florida, Rockport. There was a house, beautiful beach house, but the whole thing got shifted on its foundation, piers and all, and the second floor was literally twisted off its foundation. So it was a total loss. The house was a total loss, but we got to go in the house. It was still safe to be in it, but literally the house on piers was twisted, and probably about a foot. And I've never seen anything like it. It was amazing, but the house was gorgeous. I mean, there were so many people there, landscaping and their work people and all this other stuff. He obviously had way too much money, but I don't know if he was famous or not, but yeah, so you do run across some people. I met a lady in Florida, and she was some art, guru, and this was her second or third home or something like that, on the beach, and it was beautiful. I mean, just gorgeous. I mean, nothing. It was it was almost like she was on an inlet, and all the houses were private, so that she had this huge. It kind of reminded me, if you guys ever want to know what it looked like, the old TV show called Magnum PI. His lot or mansion that he had this massive greenery and palm trees, and then you get out to the ocean, and that's literally what this lady's backyard looked like. And but what it had done, the hurricane had busted all the windows on the 3rd floor, just pushed them all in and flooded the whole house, from the 3rd floor all the way down, to the 2nd floor there. But it was gorgeous, and all her art got damaged. I mean, she had probably $1 million claim just on all her artwork. So it was, you get some interesting ones. Very, very interesting. All right, you're welcome, inner beauties. So you use a hotel or an RV when you go out. Yeah, so Gunrunner, I use a hotel. Basically, I use Marriott Residence Inn. Years ago, when I was traveling for catastrophes, I brought my family with me because we were gone for so long. So some of them were a month or 2 months, some are 3 months, depending on how big the events were. I didn't want to be away from my family that long. So I just chose, hey, if I'm going to pay $150 for one, or $120 for one room at a Marriott residence, because I really like them because they give breakfast and then they have dinner like 3 times a week. And then everything in the hotel is pretty much, catered around just spoiling you. And that's because they're long residence stay places, not like your extended stay. Those are trash. They call them extended stays, but they're just basically a glorified hotel that looks like crap. But the Marriotts are more like living spaces. They have small kitchens, they have a stove, dishwasher, the whole thing. And so what I basically liked about them is they're literally like a very small apartment with all the amenities. They clean the house every day. So maid service was there, always filling up your soaps and your laundry and all that stuff. You know, you had laundry services on every floor. They did dry cleaning if you needed it. I mean, it's just really a great way to stay. So instead of paying $120 for one, they were at that time, I could get a discount and get it $170 for a 2-bedroom. And this would also have a pull-out couch in the living room. So we would bring all the kids and just kind of have this big, sleepover thing, and it worked really good. The kids were homeschooled at that time, so I brought them with me. And they went off to all these different towns that we would go to, and they would do all their investigating for homeschool. You know, go to museums, go to the art galleries, go to the aquariums, do all this cool stuff that was whatever town that we were in, the local flavors, you know, all the best restaurants and stuff like that. They'd find all the good food, the local food. And then after I got done my catastrophe, I made an arrangement with them that they would then show me all the best stuff that they found. And so we would then go for another week and go out and do all the things they had already done that they thought were really cool and show me. So I skipped all the bad stuff, but got all the good stuff. So it was a lot of fun. We did that for years. But we looked at the option of doing an RV, and I knew some guys that were doing RVs. And one of the things they kept telling me is that their RV was just being destroyed. They're made so cheap on the inside that, you know, their beds were wearing out, all their cabinets were falling, the hinges were falling off, the dishwasher was breaking. The shower's too small, it couldn't fit in it. Toilet, all the problems with having to dump all your sewage all the time. I mean, just endless maintenance problems when they were living in those RVs. Not to mention, they were still paying about $60 a night to stay at an RV park. And then they're around all the drunkards and all the, you know, the riffraff, even in their pop-ups, are sitting right next to them, and they're living in a $150,000 or $180,000 RV. Like one guy, they bought like a $300,000 Class A or something, beautiful RV, and they told me the same thing, is that they were literally parked next to people in pop-ups who were drinking all night and keeping them up. So I'm like, I don't spend that kind of money. I'm not going to want to sit beside somebody that's just acting like a bum, and I'm, you know, staying in the same park. But, you know, when you look at the oil changes that are like $400 on these RVs, and to fix all the equipment, the pricing difference, I did a lot of research and looked at the pricing for me as a hotel. So I spend, you know, about $6,000 a month for a hotel, but I've got a lot of other things. I got internet's included, your food, you know, literally can cut your food in half because of all the extra meals that they give. Breakfast buffet every morning, then dinner 3 or 4 times a week. You know, if you're a drinker, they had wine every like 3 or 4 nights. It was free as part of it. I mean, it's just, there's a lot of benefits to that. You know, kids had TV, they had internet, they had all the things that they needed, work tables, all the things, every comfort that I could ever imagine was in that hotel. And I just expected that I would put out that money for the hotels every time I went on a catastrophe. But I didn't have any, you know, when I left, I was done. I didn't have any other expenses. I didn't have to do any maintenance. I didn't do tires. I didn't do oil changes. Nothing on my RV. I didn't have to prep it for anything. Yeah, some people say it's really cool because you can live in the same place and have, you know, all your stuff. Well, guess what happened? Every time we went, the hotels are all the same. Every single one of them is identical. The rooms are identical. The layout's identical. Everything is identical. We would walk in the door, and our kids knew exactly where their stuff was, what drawer was theirs, where their toothbrush was going to be sitting, and they were unpacked in 15 minutes. I mean, it just super easy. They just got used to doing it, and they were like, "Let's go to the pool," you know, and they get to know the pool people and the front desk staff, because they would get the basketball. They had a basketball court in all these places, so they would get the basketball and I had one guy, it was so cool because he gave the basketball to the kid and one of the kids, and the kid said, "This thing's flat, you got a pump?" And he's like, "No, we hardly ever use a basketball. Nobody ever uses it." And so they, you know, put a little sad face on and go, "Well, we always play basketball when we come to these places." And he says, "Well, I'll take care of it, and tomorrow we'll have it all set." So anyway, so the next day comes in, and they had 2 basketballs, went and bought 2 new brand new ones, and they're all pumped up, and you got a pump. And, you know, provide that for our kids just so they'd have a basketball. So it's just nice people. They just, I think I like the hotel staff and the residents in better. We stayed at the Holiday Inn. We didn't like them as much. I mean, they're not bad, but it just, the Residence Inn tends to be a higher clientele of people. They always gave me a discount as an adjuster, so I would walk in and say, you know, I'm here on a catastrophe handling adjuster's claims, and they go, oh, we can give you a discount, so I'd always get a discount. And then part of their program also, I got a pretty good discount in as well. So I saved a lot on the hotels over the years, and then they give you free stays all the time, and so great option. I would never go to an RV. It's not an option for me. I just wouldn't do it. Well, Bex, thank you so much. I will keep it up. And please watch all my videos, and make sure, guys, there's a thanks button under my videos that helps me a lot too. Lets me know which videos you guys like. You give $1 or $2 or whatever. I put that towards my gear, my equipment, as I'm upgrading my equipment for videos so I can get better quality videos, better quality lighting. Like I've got a light there, I got a light there, I got a light there, light there, light there. I mean, I've got lights all over the place now, which is giving a better product on these videos. If you look at my first videos, you kind of laugh and go, boy, there's a Jimmy Rig mess up there. And it is. I got this little blue one back here. Look at this. It's really cool. I mean, I like doing stuff to make things better, and I'm learning. It takes money though. I mean, not that you guys are going to make a difference, but what I like about the thanks button is it helps me to understand what videos you guys like more than the average video. So just consider that the next time you watch a video. If you think, hey, that Xactimate video was totally awesome, I got a lot out of that, just throw me a couple bucks. Let me know by hitting that thanks button that it was helpful to you. So, and the same thing goes here. The super chat's the same way. If you guys are finding interest or liked here, you can leave me a couple of dollars to let me know. So it always helps to know what you guys like and what you don't like. I feel like sometimes the insureds start sharing stuff that has nothing to do with the claim. Family drama. Oh, all the time. I'll tell you a funny thing. Matthew, this is so funny, but it's so true. It's so true. Is that when I go on weekends and spend time with my extended family, they go, tell me what's exciting this week. What did you have go on? You know, they want to hear it. They think it's like a soap opera because I tell them all these very interesting stories about people and what they tell you in their private lives. It's so common that you just have to, Matthew, you just kind of have to feel sorry for those, especially the grandmas that will talk to you and talk to you and talk to you. And you'll be there an hour hearing about their dog and their, you know, the rheumatoid, the arthritis that they got going on, their ankle, or, you know, every imaginable story. Oh, my husband passed away 10 years ago, and I'm still sad, and like 10 years ago. But I can't say that stuff. I gotta show some compassion, you know. Oh, so your husband was here to take care of the maintenance on the house, and you just haven't been doing any of that? Is that why the doors are all falling off the house? Is that why? You know, and you might make, you know, some joke like that, but yeah, there's so much stuff. The drama that there's some very lonely people out there. There's some very sad people, and there are just some nice people too. They just love talking and love getting to meet you. And so that's what I was trying to say, is that the stress level that comes along with this job is really not that high, because you are there, you're a blessing to the person that you come to. So kind of see it that way. Like when I was home building, everybody was a curse to me. It was like, you never appreciate what I do to you. You never appreciate the quality that I am providing for you, because you're not comparing it to the person down the street or having that house. You know, if you had the house built down the street with, you know, a Cracker Jack builder, you wouldn't imagine how many problems you'd have, but you can't express that to them because they haven't experienced it. So when you're trying to explain the problems you're having with them as a custom home builder, they just think it's the end of the world, when you're like, it would be 10 times worse if you were with that other builder, but you know, you can't say it. So this job to me is extremely rewarding, because it's not, you know, what do you call it? Tedious work. It's not stressful work. It's very good work, and you're helping people, and it's just kind of cool. So I've got some kind of person up here doing a bunch of stuff. that funny? I had a guy, every time I post a video, I've got a guy who sends some adult message along with it. And I think he's just watching to see if he can get a bunch of people to click on it, but it's just stupid. It's immaturity. So do I have a good work-life balance with an independent adjuster? Really interested in becoming an adjuster myself. Very good, Josh. Yeah, work balance, I think at the beginning I didn't. That's a hard thing to do when you're first starting out in this business. So think about it as, here's the best example I could give you that you guys would understand. So when you see a new restaurant that pops up on the corner of your favorite street, and you see this new restaurant, and you walk in, and the person says, yeah, we just opened this restaurant, we're hoping to drum up business, and we're glad you came in, and they're doing everything. They're coming to your table, they're making sure that you have napkins, your water's filled, and you never run out of Coke or whatever. I mean, they're doing everything. This is the manager or the owner of the store that's doing this stuff. So he's on point. He's doing everything just perfect. And that's because it's a new business, and he's probably putting in endless hours on the backside, meaning he's not trusting his people he's first hired to do a good job, so he's going to be there as long as the store's open. He's there. He's working 14-hour shifts. He's doing all the books and paperwork after the place closes, so he's putting in 16-hour days, and he's doing that probably for the first several months of opening this restaurant. And as the restaurant opens and gets, he finds a good manager, and he's able to back his hours off, and is getting compliments, and maybe even Google reviews is doing better, and they're giving him more stuff. He's going to back off his hours, and he's going to start feeling a little less stressful in his work balance. But you got to remember, he's opening this new business. He's starting it. He's trying to flourish, get it to go. He's trying to build a reputation. He's trying to let people know this is the best place they could come to eat. It's going to take an enormous amount of effort at the beginning. So see your adjuster career just like that. You are an independent. Independent means you are your own boss, running your own company, and you're subbing your services out to a firm. Okay, so you are not an employee of that firm. You are a subcontractor, just like in the world of business. A subcontractor has made an agreement with a builder to provide a service. So that's what a subcontractor is for on the building side. So the same thing goes for this. You are subbing your services out to that firm. Number one, trying to prove to that firm that you deserve to get the work. When they get a list of 5 or 6 people in your area, they're also fighting for that same work. You got to prove yourself that you're better. So that's where at the beginning of your career, if it takes you 3 hours to write a 1-hour claim, you do it because you want to make sure that your product is terrific, that your photos are labeled perfectly, you've got all your photos, you've got your reports you might even go over the top and write 3 times what you need to in your report. It doesn't matter. No one will ever tell you that you're writing too much. They will always tell you you're not writing enough, but they will never tell you you're doing too much. They'll never tell you got too many photos. Doesn't ever happen. They just, so what I did was try to tweak it back and get to the point where I got enough photos to do the job, but I'm not skimping them either. And that took a while to figure out what that number was. But yeah, you don't ever want to have somebody call back and go, well, where's the photo of this? You said there was damage, but I didn't have a photo. Bummer. That's the stuff that really bites you hard is then you got to go back and get the photo of it. So yeah, you're going to spend a lot of time at the beginning of this career just really putting in the effort to be superb. And then when you're at my stage, this is the time when the work balance is like, it's a dream. I can write estimates quickly. I can inspect them in 15 or 20 minutes. Roofs are about 30 minutes max. I can do a whole claim, like a whole inspection of a massive hailstorm in about 45 minutes on a house. Done. I come home, I write that in about an hour and a half, I'm done. So as you become skilled at writing, and your speed at drawing. I'm drawing the roof, I'm labeling the roof, I'm labeling 100 photos, I'm writing a very detailed report, I'm turning in an invoice. All that takes time, but as you become proficient at it, now the time it takes me compared to what I started, it would take me 16 hours a day to work to get 4 claims out, and now I can do that in 9 hours. So it's just a huge speed difference in being proficient at what you do versus new. And so it's going to be hard at the first. It's going to be your wife's going to go, I never see you. Well, dear, I'm setting up the future here so that I know Daniel the adjuster. He tells me it will get better. So you just send her my way and have her watch my videos. But yeah, you just tell her, say, here, I'm working hard to set a lifestyle here that's going to change our lives in the future. You just got to be patient. It's going to take me a couple of years, maybe even 3, for those firms to trust me enough to start giving me regular claims. And we're going to have to travel a little bit. And yes, we're going to have to take the kids with us maybe on here if we can't leave them, or find a babysitter for them, or if they still got school, maybe we have to homeschool them. It's easy to homeschool toddlers or young kids under 8th grade. Easy, easy, easy. You can homeschool those kids. All you're doing is teach them what you already know. How do you make a sentence? It's like, homeschooling's easy. It's when your kids get to be in high school and they're learning stuff like the stupid, third world's teaching today, like 2 + 1 is 5, and all the other garbage they're teaching them. And you got to figure out what they're thinking in their English class, and teaching them all these pronouns that they shouldn't know and whatever. I mean, it's a totally different world. I take my kids out of school in a heartbeat, so I don't have to learn that trash. But yeah, so it's harder in high school, but now they have video courses. I can teach all my kids on video courses from good, strong Christian or ethical type teaching that they're not going to get out of that brainwashing garbage. So we chose to homeschool because it brought us this huge freedom to take our kids all across the country. Our kids have seen 27 states. They've been all over the country. They have history with every state of what they did, restaurants they went to, places they saw, museums, and they got this endless list of yeah, that was a great place, I want to go back. That's in their history of and it's only happened in the last 10 years or 10 or 12 years. So we traveled a bunch when we were building, but really we've traveled more as an adjuster than we ever did before that. So, and hey, I'm flipping the expenses. It's going to cost me to be in the hotel. It's going to cost me gas. The only extras that I pay for them is the extra food to feed them while we're out. A little added extra on the hotel room, to go up to the next size. And then if they go out and do things, then the cost for them to go do those things. But you're making really good money on the flip side that will easily make up for their little bit of expenses that they go out and spend. So it's a great experience. And my kids, I mean, what a spoiled life to be able to go off and say you've been in all these different places when they grow up, and those memories will be with them forever. So very cool. You're welcome, Josh. Very well. Do you get plenty of work each year? Yes. I don't need any more work. I have people call me all the time for work, and I turn it down all the time because I don't want to get any busier than I am. I like the fact that now the work balance it slows down a little bit in the wintertime and the fall. I like that. It's around the holidays. That means I can spend time with the kids and the family, and I don't have to be gone all the time. I don't have to travel if I don't feel like it. The wintertime or the summertime is busy, and everybody knows it's just busy, and Dad's going to be very busy during that time, but there'll be more money. So the kids know that. I make a very good living. I make more than probably 80% of the people in the workforce, so I make really good money. And I could make way more than that, way more, if I chose to sacrifice the free time that I have. I know some guys that make over $300,000, $400,000 a year doing this job, but they have no life. They have chose to either travel the country doing catastrophes all the time, nonstop. They're away from their home. A lot of them are divorced. A lot of them don't have family life. They just choose that, hey, money is my God, and I want all of it, and, and I want to see the world. So there are some adjusters that are like that. But you'll find in this industry that a vast majority of people are divorced or separated because they made the wrong choices for their work life. And so you just got to keep that balance important. But hey, if you're starting out at the beginning and you let your spouse and family know that this is going to be a transition just like any new job, that there's going to be some hard times, and we're just going to fight through it, but it's going to be better in the long run for me to do this career change, then they'll understand the next 2 or 3 years are going to be tough. You're going to make some good money, so it's not like the money is going to be the issue. It's more going to be the time and the effort that it takes for you to be good at what you're doing. Because think about it, if it takes you 3 hours to write a 1 hour estimate, that extra 2 hours is coming away from somewhere. And so you may have to stay up till midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning to finish that claim so that you're not sacrificing your family time. And that's a choice that you're going to have to make. You don't want to take away from your family time and then 3 years down the road wonder what happened to your marriage and your family because you ignored them. So what you're going to be doing is swapping that for working late, working on weekends, giving up some of your extracurricular. Maybe you don't go fishing with the boys on Saturday because you got to write your claims. Maybe you don't go golfing. Maybe you don't go drinking. These are things that will all start to change because you're sacrificing your stuff for the family stuff, and that's a better lifestyle for them in the future. So it's definitely way, way more worth it. Hey, Daniel, started my Xactimate level 1 and 2 training next week. Do you have any advice? Yeah, just soak it up. I mean, it's an extremely hard course. It's all new. You're learning a new software, so it's really intense. But do all their extra practices, spend a lot of time, stay late if they allow you to work on the program, ask lots of questions. Don't let anything pass you by that you don't understand because it's just going to slow you down. Xactimate builds on everything. So everything that you learn will build to the next step, to the next step, to the next step, to the next step. That's why they have level 1, 2, and 3 certification. Is what you learn in level 1 is exactly what you'll need in level 2, but you'll need more of it in order to continue in level 2. And then everything you use in 3 will be everything 1 and 2 put together plus more. So, and you don't need level 3 certification. I'm just saying that's how they build the program. It's very sophisticated, and it builds on top of each other. So yeah, just soak it all up and learn it as you go. But you'll do fine. I think anyone who has a desire to learn anything new will succeed. It's just a matter of a mind change, making sure that you set in your head ahead of time, this is going to be hard, this is going to be something I won't understand, but I'm going to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it until I do understand it. And like today for me, writing an estimate is like brushing my teeth. There's no challenge to writing an estimate today. I know the software, I know it really well, I know all the tricks, not all of them, but a lot of them, and I can speed through writing an estimate very, very quickly. The only time it gets me stumped up is when I've got these weird roof lines that they're starting to build in some of these houses, and I have to draw that roof. That when I was on the roof sketching it, it's just really hard to draw sometimes because they're just really odd designs. So then when I come home to the Xactimate, I'm trying to look at a flat piece of paper, and then I compare it to my photos and go, how in the world am I going to draw that in Xactimate? Because it's not easy. There's some roofs that I have spent an hour fudging through, trying to figure out how I can get the right measurements that I've measured and get it onto Xactimate. So that's going to be your biggest challenge is not all carriers are going to pay for the roof report or the things that automatically import into Xactimate. You're going to have to draw a lot of them. So when you're first starting to draw these things, it's going to be very, very challenging, and you're going to be really slow. But just be patient and know that the more repetitive, I mean, think about it. I've handled, 5,000 claims or something like that, and about, 3,000 of those are roofs. After you draw a roof 3,000 times, you start to see the same roofs over and over again, and so you remember, how you drew it the last time, and so repeating it is actually very simple. It's just a different measurement. But a lot of your builders will build the same type of house, and so it repeats itself. And the same thing with drawing rooms or putting doors in or stairs, or I was telling somebody in the last video that I don't ever have to measure the tub. measurement because it's 4'11". So some of the measurements all become the exact same measurements. You just remember, beside the fridge, it's always 2'2". So it's just, all the inside closets are 1'11". I mean, everything starts to be repetitive because these are standard measurements that you'll start to see on a regular basis. And so when I go to measure a room, I don't have to measure that wall because I already know what it is. So it's kind of cool. It just works out really cool. And the same thing goes for kitchen cabinets. They all have standard measurements. So they all you'll start to memorize some of those measurements. So time will speed you along, and then you'll have more time, and then your work balance in the future becomes very proficient. I can handle 4 claims and be done by 6 o'clock. And so then there's plenty of time for everything else. You're welcome, Josh. Absolutely. Taking it with a company called Legion Claims. Yes, I've heard of them. Good job. I don't know anybody over there who worked for them, but very good. What is CCC1? I see other IAs talk about it, and I'm not actually sure what it is. So Josh, that is to do with auto claims. It's this estimating software for auto damage in the field. So same thing like Mitchell. Mitchell's another auto estimating software. If you're not a mechanic, then you pretty much won't be using that software because that's going to be the software they use to write a repair estimate for auto damage when you go to the shop. So just like I go into a house and write property damage with Xactimate, they have a special software like Mitchell or CCC1 for auto damage to write auto repair damages. So unless you're a mechanic and you actually know what's damaged underneath that car, I don't have a clue. I wouldn't even want to try to be an auto field adjuster because I wouldn't have a clue. Now, if I could do hail, because they use the paintless dent repair, and I got that certification, which was really easy. That would allow me to go on a CAT event and do hail claims. So that's actually a really good gig if you wanted to do that too. That pays really well. So yeah, you just need to get your auto certification for State Farm, get your paintless dent removal certification, you're ready to go. And you can be deployed on any hail event for cars. You're welcome, Josh. What time is it? 7:30. All right. Well, I think I'm going to head out of here, guys. But very cool. Glad you guys stuck with us. We didn't have any technical issues. None. This is great. So maybe we'll do the exact same setup next time because I love it. Then no internet issues, no bars. We had stinking rainbow bars that came in here. And you're welcome, Gunrunner. Appreciate you guys coming. Make sure you check out my links in the description. If you guys want to find out what gear I use. The other pages, Instagram's in there. I don't do a whole lot on Instagram. Twitter's there. My webpage to buy my macros. Clear Sky Drone Imagery. If you want to see my drone photos, go there. I take a lot of drone footage. All that footage is mine. I've taken it with my DJI drone, and also a link in the description for that drone if you guys want to pick up a really cool toy. So let's see. One more question. How long do you think it would take until things start flowing? I'm a very fast learner and seeking to exceed in this field. I generally tell people your first year is going to be your slow year. Second year is very doable to actually make some money. And your third year, you're screaming. So it's pretty much, if you're working consistently, you can do really well. And it's all about your heart, guys. If your heart is in this and you want to be the best and you want to thrive, that's the independent or self-employment mentality. So guys, remember that. As an independent, you are your own boss. You're running your own company. You are dictating how much money you're going to make, how much you're going to work, how much you're going to have off for time off, and who you want to work for, how much you want to make. I mean, these are all, you own your own business. This is what you are. Independent means you are your own business. How are you going to treat your own business if you're trying to succeed? Are you going to be like the restaurant owner that just goes, well, if they come, they come. If they don't, they don't. That's a stupid way to operate a business. You're going to be sitting there wondering why you don't have any customers. No, you're going to be out there with a yellow bunny costume standing on the road going, new restaurant, open, 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 come and get it, and all the stupid things. Free dinner if you come today, whatever. You're going to be doing all the stupid things to bring people into your restaurant because you're brand new and you want people to come and visit. So you're going to be doing everything you can as your own business to succeed. And that's calling people, getting your training, getting online, talking with as many people as you can, introducing yourself, offering to carry ladders, you know, doing whatever you can. And then not to mention just doing the best product that is out there when it's time for you to turn one in. That's, you know, there's no room for mediocre in this business. You gotta be the best, you gotta do your best all the time, you gotta be honest, integrity, loyal, hardworking. And it's, do all those and you're gonna be successful. So guys, Daniel the Adjuster, see you on the next one. Talk to you soon, bye-bye.